Good morning. Welcome into Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi, Lulla. What's going on, DB?
Hello.
How are you this morning?
How are things?
Oh, we're doing all right.
Glad everybody parked like adults. That's probably my favorite thing.
You know, that's a good start for us.
Yeah.
It's not a given.
You have a tendency to not be a very good parker. I want you to know.
I'm on a hot streak, though. I'm on a hot streak.
You've been on a heater. It's pretty good. Yesterday, Shane was extremely disappointing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not only was he in there diagonally, almost, he's about 4 feet short.
To be
Now,
clear.
now he's usually about 2 feet short, but he's at least straight. Today, you are officially adulting.
Well, you know, I got tired of you saying something about it. So I was like, you know what?
Hey, you know what?
We're just going to figure it out.
Be better. Well, that's what people tell me.
I'm on a heater.
No BCD, no blaming, complaining, or deflecting. Just own it.
What's what?
We got we had a really good pregame yesterday from our guest speaker.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently he was not very happy because the tenor and tone in which he delivered the pregame had me wanting to play.
Yeah?
Yeah, well, at least I walked out of this auditorium at the school and I was like, you know what? I'm pretty sure I'm going to own any mess I make because there'll be no complaining to anybody else. You know what I mean? It's just like one of those things in the moment. And that's kind of how I like to operate anyway. But yeah, man, it's I'm glad you're better. And you did own the fact that you're a tremendously poor parker.
Well, you know, it's at least I've got a large car. Shane doesn't have an excuse.
Yeah.
Shane's got a little bitty blueberry of a car.
Yeah, and he told me something yesterday that it's funny because I asked you guys this question about 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, Shane.
And you guys low-key made fun of me. I ate it. I took it. I moved on.
Yeah.
I said, how can you get so many seats across in a bus and they still fit in the same lane as a normal car, even though you can't get that many people in a car?
Yeah.
Okay, so guys had fun with that. And
didn't make fun of you that much.
Well, I mean, I didn't feel good about the question. I thought it was a legit question, right?
I understand
how
you
can you
get to
seat
the question.
8 in a bus or whatever?
It's a better question than are crickets smarter than us?
Yeah, by the way, nice TikTok. What an idoid. Like, I looked at that. I looked at that little stupid thing you sent me, and I was like, this dude's a grade A jerk. But anyway.
I mean, it's better than the alternative because the alternative was I bought one, snuck into your house, and put it somewhere.
So why do they have those?
I don't know.
It was like a cricket plug-in, Shane. You, like, plug it into the wall.
Yeah, it's just to prank people.
And it makes a cricket noise.
Yeah. It's just to prank people.
So me and Boyce would be pissed at you because he can't find the one in his
100%,
garage.
yeah.
I'm surprised.
I wonder if I wonder if Brenda's probably like, what are you doing?
What's wrong with you?
What are you doing out there? Listen, trying to find a cricket, okay? But so I asked the bus question and I just laughed off the deal. But Shane said, do you know that car is the exact same length as his other little blue car?
I did not know that.
Does that seem right? Because Shane, that's a Cherokee. It's a Compass, correct?
Yeah, it's a Jeep Compass.
It's a Compass. The Compasses are pretty small.
Would you think that it was the same length as his other little car?
I wouldn't have said it was the same length. I wouldn't have thought it was. Shane, we got to figure out what's going on with the.
It's awful loud. It's this. I think he said he's getting ready to talk to us.
I know, but it's louder than normal.
My mic? Yeah, my mic's blown.
Good talk. I wouldn't have guessed they were the same length. I would have guessed they were close. Compasses are really small.
Yeah, and I came clean yesterday. I told him, you know what I still can't do?
What's that?
You can't
park. Is that better?
Yes, it's fine. I'm not as good of a parker going to the passenger side.
Yeah, I'm better going one way versus the other for sure.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and what's funny is I think I'm more comfortable going the way I'm worse at.
I am definitely more comfortable parking to the driver's side than I am the other way.
I think I'm more comfortable going passenger side.
I got out of the car at practice yesterday, and I was thinking I was going to admire my work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got back in and fixed it.
You're like, oh, no, that's not good.
Yeah.
I think, okay, so if I like going to the right, so that's a passenger side.
Yeah.
I like going to the right.
That's not me.
But I don't think I'm better going to the right. I think because I'm less comfortable going to the left, I have to like lock in and focus better.
Yeah.
And I end up being a better Parker to the left.
Parker.
Like Peter?
No, like Zickman. They got a
Oh.
big game for Central City.
Nah.
How about my man throwing for like 470 and an L?
They play 11-man or 8-man out there.
It's 11.
Oh, okay. We're cool then.
Yeah, I'm gonna need you to stop.
I mean, at this point, I just kind of have to lean into it.
no.
4, 6, 8, 12.
We just have to come to the conclusion that people
Aren't very smart.
see. That's not.
Oh, sorry. Is that what got me in trouble?
Yes, that's not what I said. That clearly context was
Missed.
skewed.
Yeah. Or skipped.
No,
I don't know if it was skewed. If you don't see it at all, if you don't see the context at all, you're not skewing the context. You're ignoring it.
yeah.
That's a little different.
I mean, I agree that I don't think that's what you were saying. Although my coworker, my peer, my colleague, my ace,
Yeah.
he did say he is 5 years removed from 8-man, so he wasn't offended, but he doesn't know how he would have taken it had he been an 8-man. But he did go back and listen, and he's really smart.
Yeah. If you go back and listen, no one's offended.
He got it.
Yeah.
He got it. By the way, you
'cause
missed
he's-
my man Will Tiemann in Indianapolis, Shane. He was looking sharp.
Because he's smart and went back and listened to context. That's what
Yeah.
smart people do.
Can you give me some context here?
What's that?
I want to read you something from my man Dennis.
Denny?
Yes, Dennis. Dennis has a question.
Or let's hear it.
Don't be discouraged.
No, I'm ready. I'm ready.
I think Dennis genuinely wants to know.
I'm ready for Denny.
Dennis says, and by the way, he said he would call. He's just not that interested in having you ridicule him. And I said, Ravi's not that bad.
People think I'm way meaner than I am.
I know. We say this every day, so apparently you are.
It's because I come off as condescending as degenerate Aaron.
Yeah.
What-
Well, did you just not hear yourself 60 seconds ago?
Condescending means it sounds like I talk down to people.
I have to read this question to you. I've been on the receiving end of that. I think it's kind of funny.
You talk down to me all the time. So does everybody else.
I mean, it's hard not to, Shane. We don't have a lot of options.
That would be correct. So my man Dennis says, okay, I'm genuinely asking you this. When Rule calls out Nair, specifically on chasing 3 for not playing hard, how is that not a bad look for McGuire? It's like my boss walking over and going right over to me and talking to someone on my team about how they need to try hard or perform better. As a team leader, I would absolutely be gutted if that happened to me in my place of work. Does context matter?
I think so.
Okay. So I understand.
It's a fair question.
I understand Dennis's
I think
question.
it's a fair question.
So here's the deal.
Mhm.
When you have a lot of people that you're responsible for,
Mhm.
not everybody is going to do what you asked
100%.
100% of the time.
Correct.
So for somebody to say that is not necessarily an indictment of said leader's leadership prowess. There's this thing called individual accountability.
Mhm.
And as an individual, you have to do your 1 of 11
Mhm.
or 1 of 105 or
One of 20 receivers in that room.
right. So you have to kind of take a look at the general palette, the general thing. I don't think it's good practice to take isolated incidents
Mhm.
in their totality as some sort of an indictment.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, so that's generally what I'm speaking. But you
Mhm.
asked me why I like talking to Dennis.
Okay.
I like talking to Dennis because Dennis sometimes he asks.
I think it's a fair question.
I think he asks decent questions.
Yeah, that's a fair question.
And a lot of times we talk about things like he's big. I think he's a big culture guy.
Okay, so that would resonate with you.
Yeah, and I think he likes to pit it against like again, he's one of those younger fans
Mhm.
that is on the cusp of like he's already all in. I mean, he's like
Right.
he's Nebraska.
But it's a lot easier.
And he's not even here.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't even live here. So I want to bring him along because I need him and his kids and his friends and
Yeah, you need that whole generation.
I want that whole generation to be
that didn't have good experiences growing up with
Fans.
Nebraska football.
but but I just I was going to find a way to try to explain that question, and I think, is that safe?
I think so.
I don't know if I should be leaning on you when you're kind of feeling some type of way to like some Madonna.
No, so I think it's a fair question from Denny. I also think you're right in that.
I think he prefers Dennis.
I know, but we had Dennis's object.
Yeah.
And I personally, there's a Dennis I'm very fond of, so I don't want to.
I like the Dennis that
chimed in,
that tweeted at you.
See, I don't know him, but one of my old bosses was named Dennis, and he's terrific.
Yeah.
Like salt of the earth, love the guy. So I'm gonna steer away from Dennis.
Okay.
So we're gonna call him Denny.
Okay.
Terrific fast food chain, or not fast food, casual dining chain.
Terrific.
It's
underappreciated.
Historic.
It is iconic. It is
iconic. That's the word I'm looking for.
Definitely iconic.
But I do think it's dangerous to take anecdotal evidence as an indictment for an entire room or position group or whatever. And that's what one example is, right? And I know a lot of people have chimed in about, it's like, well, a lot of this started with the Aaron Murray stuff. It
did.
Oh, these receivers aren't running routes hard, or they're lazy, or whatever. And I'm not taking Aaron Murray's word as gospel. I'm just not. But I also think there's like context of Isaiah Nair is important too, right? Isaiah Nair hasn't really played football in 2 years.
Yeah, and sometimes, like I do this, and I think a lot of coaches do. Sometimes you coach guys up specifically just to keep them from being complacent or satisfied.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was telling this to our guys yesterday.
Well, let me stay on Nair here just for a second.
Yeah, sure.
If Nair is a Sunday guy the way you feel,
Nair is a Sunday guy,
right? Then it kind of makes sense, because we've seen this with a bunch of guys. We saw it with Tommy Hill. We've seen it with Micah Mazuka, although he's kind of in flux right now. We've seen it with,
apparently he's dressing now
and available, just not starting. But we've seen it with a bunch of guys. Rule has done this with a bunch of dudes, where he's like, hey, I need better out of this guy. And guess what he gets? Better out of that guy.
He does speak it into existence,
right?
A ton. We just talked about that. That's funny.
And typically it's the guys he thinks there is a super high upside or ceiling to, right? So if Isaiah Nair is competing at the same level, this is not to be disrespectful to Alex Bullock, but if he's competing at the same level of Alex Bullock, but Alex Bullock is maximizing what he's got, but Isaiah Nair is not, you're going to call out Isaiah Nair, right? It's really hard to, and I'm not saying he shouldn't be able to do this, but it's really hard as a position coach, if you've got 20 guys in the room, which they do, that's the number, to individualize, hey, I need this out of you. And sometimes they just need to hear it from someone else.
Mm-hmm.
You spend the most time with your position coach, correct?
Correct.
You spend a ton of time with that guy. Sometimes when the head coach says it, it sounds differently, right?
100%. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point.
When you tell me something, it hits differently than when Shane tells me something, or when Sasha tells me something, or when Chris tells me something. Like, who the message comes from matters.
Mm-hmm.
When my wife tells me something, it's different than when my mom or my sister tells me something. Like, the same information can be disseminated by different people and have a different impact. That doesn't mean Garrett McGuire's not doing his job. It means Matt Rule is doing his job.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I take it.
Yeah, but I do like
but it is a fair question.
But one thing I do like, though, is I almost said his real name. If I'm Dennis
mm-hmm.
and I'm that team leader, I'm not going to kid you. I do feel some type of way. Like,
if you're that group leader, if you're the position coach. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because that happens.
Yeah, if you're McGuire, you don't want him to have to do that.
You don't want that.
But that also doesn't mean you're doing a bad job.
Correct.
Like, both of those things can be true.
Correct. Just had my coach ask me a couple during the game last week.
Yeah.
Hey, why can't you get what's going on the perimeter with these sweep keeps?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I got to get the iPad. A couple plays later. Hey, are we getting out leveraged out there?
Yeah.
Like this is in my ear.
Yeah.
But I can clearly hear what he's saying.
Yeah.
Correct. Right. So there's like,
you feel some type of way.
Yeah. But I also know in my heart of hearts, okay, they're not coached to do that.
Mm-hmm.
This is not how we play this technique. Let me just figure out what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I take it. It's on a personal level. It's like, yeah, I got to fix that.
Mm-hmm.
but I know it's not an indictment of my prowess.
Right. Because
Right,
you taught them how to do it, right?
Yeah, we just got to figure out
There's some disconnection
what's the disconnect
between what you taught and what they're doing.
And here's the other thing.
Now, it is on McGuire to figure out the disconnect.
Now let's go back to this checkers chess thing we talk about with
Rule.
HCMR, right? Sometimes I think he doesn't necessarily go out of his way, but he is very cognizant of making sure he coaches his really good players hard. Now you want to coach everybody the same, but you can put this on a t-shirt. I heard this 27 years ago, and this was one of the greatest things I've ever heard. Now I've tweaked it and I put my own spin on it. But I tell people, I tell any coach, I tell anybody that will listen, if you can't coach your best players hard, you better make sure that they aren't your best player.
Yeah.
Right? Like
100%.
If you can't coach your best players hard, make sure that they're not your best player.
Yeah. Because that can ruin the culture.
Now, that's not to say that hard doesn't have range.
Doesn't look different.
Right?
Right.
But you
because some people process information differently.
And ask any coach, I don't care what the sport is. When you have to go around or circumvent kind of the culture or the delivery for a particular player just because he or she may not respond well, it's very disruptive.
Yeah.
Unless you have outward communication. Now listen, he just can't take it like everybody else can. So you don't typically want to get into that.
Right.
But if you can't coach your best players hard, make sure they're not your best players.
But there's also a difference between, like, I think some people hear, can you coach your best players hard versus like, hey, can you like rip them a new one?
Yeah.
And that's not always the case.
And sometimes like you just want a culture of accountability, right?
That's what I mean when I'm saying coach somebody hard, right? Like hold them relentlessly to a high standard.
Yeah.
Right. That can look differently.
Even in the talk yesterday, he was kind of talking to the players. And at the very end, he goes, coaches, that's on you too. That's on you. So it's like, oh, he's talking to everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not offended because he was right.
Yeah.
Right. That is on us too. So I think, because you're going to hear that a lot. And I think the only reason I started with him asking this question is because I think it's what permeates all the press conferences. And it was the catalyst for why he said, I'm not so sure I can be candid with you guys.
Yeah.
I should be as candid.
Yeah.
Because they understand the culture of accountability.
We don't always.
We don't.
Yeah.
So we don't really know what to do with it.
Yeah.
So his auto default was, well, it's not for them anyway. So maybe I'll just bypass
Dial it back a little bit.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then he's probably like, you know what?
I also don't think he actually meant that he's not going to be.
No, I know.
I think he was just letting us know, like, hey, you need to process things differently.
Yeah. That was just shots fired.
Yeah.
Zero question.
To me,
but that's why I like the question, because it all it's just how it goes.
Yeah. It's all part of the I guess part of the messaging, right? It's all part of, because
figure it out.
Yeah, the messaging isn't.
I go back to what he said in Chasing 3 about why you can't win. See, we didn't know how to receive that.
100%.
That was pretty candid, right?
Yes, yeah.
But it's the exact same thing we're talking about.
Yes.
It's just a different example. So I think the better we get the better we big picture this thing about a culture of accountability, I think it'll be easier to digest these things without it coming across as this grand indictment.
TG brought up a good point as well. He says, if you create a healthy culture of accountability, neither Nair or McGuire is going to be offended by what Rule said.
Exactly.
McGuire can be good at developing his room and also be okay with Rule stepping in to reach a player in a different way.
Exactly.
100% right. Like, that's exactly what we're talking about here.
Is that your TG?
Yeah, I think so.
Hey, I dubbed him TG. You call him Tony.
Well, sometimes you like to like hide people's identities and
Well, he's not your TG. He does vouch for you quite a bit, though.
Fine, my guy Tony. Is that better?
Yeah.
You feel better about it?
Say that.
You don't like when I steal nicknames over here?
Not really.
You kind of bristled up.
Yeah,
Hey.
man.
I'm the one that came up with the idea to call him by his initials.
Hey, yeah, you know how creative that is. I mean, came up with a lot of thought process.
You're like, what should I call this guy whose initials are TG?
Hey, why did they call you KD? Because my first name starts with a K.
My
It's
first
Kevin.
name is Kevin. My last name's Durant.
That was an all-time classic.
Why do they call you DB?
And it's not Dean
Dean
Blandino.
Blandino.
It's funny, Ravi. It's just like, you know, I like and we can get back to this because that's why I liked what he said to Rich Eisen about Bayer.
Mhm.
Right? Because he said
The I versus we.
the I versus we, right? The
Mhm.
more you use I, he's not mad at him for what he
No.
said.
But he's like, you better back it up then.
Yeah, and it's just you're just doing too much. Because and I think you have to be very, very, very careful with working with or being on teammates with being teammates with people that start with I.
Mhm.
Right? Because when people set themselves apart from everybody else as though they're doing something different,
Mhm.
be careful with those people because over the long haul, everybody's worked with that person that's like, you'll have a team meeting. This is like Preston's talking about. You'll have a team meeting and
Denny.
somebody will talk. Denny.
That's fine.
Dennis. Yeah, Dennis. So it's like, if they're like, hey, you know, you ever been in a room where everybody thinks they're not talking to you? They're talking about something and
They're like,
he's not talking to me.
Oh, not talking to me.
Talking to me. Be careful of those people that, well, I've done this and they're not talking about. Like, those people are selfish.
Mhm.
Get those people out of there as soon as possible because over the long haul, it doesn't work with those people.
Hurt the culture.
It hurts the culture.
Yeah.
The set apart or the set aside. Oh man, I've done this, man. He's talking about those guys. Should I do blah blah? No, man.
You mean like when Warren Sapp is sitting there while Dion's ripping everybody out and he's like, oh, I know he ain't talking about me.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
The run from those people.
Coming up next, we'll set up the show and get to more Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. Welcome back. Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill, where tomorrow you can join me and DB for our live breakfast, pre-gaming the Illinois-Nebraska matchup tomorrow night. Make sure you get to eventbrite.com, search Hurrdat Sports Radio to reserve your spot. Will be presented by EP Foundation Repair. Are you excited? You get your sandwich tomorrow. I know you're excited.
I am excited. So I'll probably.
You're not going to eat it till after the game, though, are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a long time.
I know.
It's exciting.
But it's just.
It held up, though, right?
Yeah.
Because you went like 9 hours last time, didn't you?
Oh, yeah.
Because it was a game day for like a West Side game day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just get that thing home. I want to go get my ears lowered. Quick change of shower and change again.
Yeah.
We're on air at.
So what time do you head out?
Fudge. The show will start at 3.
So you'll leave at
Wait, it's 7, right? It's a 7 o'clock kick?
because you're on 4 hours early.
Yeah. So I'll leave by 1:15.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not. Listen, it's not exciting.
It's a long day.
It's no big deal. And we play.
So-
we play tonight too. So that's.
Yeah, so you'll be late tonight,
Mhm.
early tomorrow. So what's your
But guess what? Saturday's going to be like.
Just going to be camped out,
Yeah.
watching games?
He scared me yesterday at practice. He looked back over the trainer's shoulder and he's like, "Hey, John, we'll be going Sunday morning too." I looked over. I was like, "Wait, what? Can we get the weekend?
I'm sorry, come again?
Everybody's working for the." No, I'll be curious to see how he sets the schedule because it will totally dictate my level of debauchery.
So what's your schedule on game day like? So you go on 4 hours, but you're not on the whole 4 hours, right?
Yeah.
You are on the whole 4 hours?
No.
Okay. I was like, because you come out and talk to us.
Yep, I'm done. You'd think I would know after 3 years.
I don't either. And I listen most
I
of the time.
think I'm done an hour and a half because Sharpie will come on with the half-hour pregame.
Mhm.
Then I go down and I do the hit with Jessica, and then I'm back upstairs for like 45 minutes.
Mhm.
So I'm just working backwards,
Okay.
and then the pregame starts a half hour early.
Okay.
But I don't talk the first 6-7 minutes of the pregame.
Yeah.
That's
It's like setting the
that's
stage.
Sharpie's tone. Yeah. Dude, his scene sets,
Yeah.
filthy.
Oh no, I've listened to a bunch of the broadcasts
They-
throughout the years.
You know, low key, the thing. This has nothing to do with anything except you asked me about the pregame.
Mhm.
When he just randomly picks cities,
Really?
so he'll go from Ogallala to Ord, from
Oh
Pierce to
yeah.
like it's something different every week.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Does he pre-decide or he just picks them out of his?
So it's not on it. It's not on.
Like a sheet somewhere. Okay.
No.
So he could just be randomly picking Nebraska cities.
It's just I just think it's whatever he feels like saying.
Yeah. I like that.
From Benkelman to Bennington to it's I'm like kind of get chills. Do I have my body like Taylor Martinez? No,
From
but
Wisner to Wahoo.
yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, stuff like that.
Well, those aren't too far away, I don't think. But it's okay.
Yeah,
It's all right.
I've been through. They're consolidated now.
Where?
I think it's Wisner Pilgrim.
Pilger.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wisner Pilger.
Yeah, I should think beer. Yeah, we drove past there to go to Norfolk.
Yeah. That's how I know Wisner is from going up and back to Norfolk.
I remember a nice little pretty grass field set off the highway.
Stanton's up there too. I think.
No, Stanton's west on 91.
What's
think.
the one up? There's another one up there.
Well, there's several.
No, there's a bunch on the way, but there's one that.
So I gotta bang I bang the left to get to Stanton on the way to Norfolk.
Yeah,
and I take 91 west.
Okay.
And I was scared because there's no lights. It's crazy.
Like no street lights, no stoplights.
No, what's the big ones that are like along the?
Yeah, like the street lights.
Yeah, there aren't those.
I like street lights. You can see where you're going better,
bro. About 61 on the way home. About a month ago. I'm like, damn, it's dark.
You gotta be careful out there because you go through those small towns like.
Well, it's like 10 and I'm on the highway and I'm thinking, why is it so dark?
Yeah, there's no lights.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Not a single one.
I'm 50. I should probably be able to handle that.
Nah.
But I don't like, when can you use your brights and when can you not? You can't use your brights when there's oncoming traffic, right?
Yeah. And I try not to use them when I'm too close to somebody going the same way as me either.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to like put them in somebody's rearview mirror.
Bro, life is a highway. There was no one out there.
Yeah. So yeah, if there's no one out there, you're good to go.
I was like, man, just get home.
I try and be pretty cautious with the brights because I'm not trying to mess anybody else's life up.
Yeah.
The
more you know. It's like
I'm occasionally considerate.
Just trying to be like a functioning adult.
Not a lot, but from time to time. Coming up on the show.
Flaky Jake, I've been from Nebraska City to Omaha. Me too. I'm in Nebraska City today, Jake.
A lot. You go to Nebraska City every week.
Yeah, those are my people.
We'll be
so every week they have, not every week, but a lot of weeks, they'll tape some guest attendee onto the chair, like their face.
Really?
Oh yeah, I've seen Rule there. I've seen Coach Sanders. I've seen Jeremiah Searles there. Like it's the same table.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this guy is an offensive line honk.
Yeah.
Oh, every question. O-line.
Surprised he hasn't taped Verse to the chair yet.
Nah, but he's funny though. He let his hair grow out. I accuse him of going through a midlife crisis. Yeah, it's a good group.
Coming up on the show today, we got Dominic Casciato. He's the head coach of Union Omaha. Brian Edwards at 8:45, our Vegas insider. Got Michael Bruntz at 9, Miller North guy, and also a Husker 24/7 guy. Miller North guy's more important though. And we'll wrap up the show with Robert Rosenthal from Illini Board to give us a preview of Illinois.
How excited are you for? Because if we go in order, we'll talk to Coach Martin tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Because you did not hear from Coach Wisdom, Shane.
That is correct.
I hope we get a chance to talk to Coach. I hope it's not a Miller Southwest side thing.
We're trying.
We like the guy.
I don't want people to think that we're not trying because we tried to get him the week that they went to Arizona
and he was
traveling, so that's totally cool. But it's not. We're not ignoring. We are trying. Just got to get schedules to work out.
I'm glad you said we, because sometimes you get teammates that like to isolate themselves.
Coach Martin will be on tomorrow.
I hate those guys.
Coach Martin.
Yep.
All right, we like Coach Martin.
Yeah, he'll be good.
That was a quick response, Coach Martin. Good work. Good on you.
Yeah,
it's like he likes you or something.
I don't even know. My own coach didn't know it was our show. I don't know if Coach Martin does either. Lamonji was like, I didn't even know I was talking to you until I heard your voice.
That's like the most Lamonji thing ever. I don't know him very well, but that just seems super on brand.
Super dialed. Super dialed.
I think people assume that I know him because I know you,
Yeah.
and I've interacted with him like twice.
Yeah, he's
And I'm pretty sure he doesn't know who I am.
it's not been in the greatest of spirits this week. I'll leave it right there. It's just
That's all right, though. That's all right.
I mean, it's just look at the front page of the scouting report.
Yeah, you got to get it. You got to get it.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, but
That's all right, though.
we vibe. It's a big one. We need this one.
Yeah.
Are you excited for Millard North, Millard South? Because and maybe I don't know how the rankings will go because we do go in order. So maybe
Burrell will be next.
Coach Burrell could be next because they are next in the rankings. And if it's a close loss or something like that, they may not move in the rankings because the coaches vote.
They might win. We don't know. Let's go get a W.
Are you optimistic?
Not super, if I'm being honest, but you never know. You got to play the game.
Wow.
I do think weather's gonna be an issue, which could help them out.
So they're
playing Friday, so they should be okay. I was looking at
no. Wait a minute. The weather is bad tomorrow night.
I don't think so anymore. I think it's cleared up.
Are you sure?
No.
I heard it was supposed to be 91. I know there's this thing called
warm.
I'm waiting for Daniel to say, well, you can Google. What is the weather forecast for tomorrow?
The last I checked, it's like 88, but I think the weather cleared out.
So Bielema, he spoke it into existence.
I don't know what Bielema's doing.
Yeah, not exactly.
Complaining about sports writers and whatever.
Is his coaching prowess under, over, or about right appreciated?
I think it's
weatherman, sports writers. You never have to be right.
I think it's underrated.
You think his coaching prowess is underrated?
I do. I think he's a good coach. I do. I think his time at Arkansas is
a
not
blip.
Viewed. Well, I think he was actually better than people remember. We can talk about this when we get back. Like, I'll go through his kind of tenure. He's better than people remember at Arkansas. It wasn't great, but people act like it was an abomination, and it really wasn't.
That's a funny word.
I have my moments. Cody, hang on the line here. We'll get to you coming up next.
We will bypass the rain, it looks like.
We've got more Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. Wrapping up hour number one here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. If you're driving to work right now, make sure hands on the wheel, eyes and focus straight ahead. The driver has one job to drive. This message from the NDOT Highway Safety Office. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. What's up?
Always be thinking. ABT, Coach Rule.
Always.
Who was that? Who was that message for?
Always be thinking?
Yeah, it wasn't for his players.
Nah. That might have been.
Student section, the fans.
That might have been for
Hey,
us.
Keep this thing lit.
Can I do a little exercise here?
Yeah, hang on.
Yeah.
And speaking of lit.
Okay.
Okay. Hearing someone who has been driving 30 plus years ask out loud, when is it okay to use your brights explains a lot of what I've seen in traffic every day. Okay, hey, listen here. AD. #AD. I don't know if it's illegal to just drive with your brights on, so I asked the question. It was a little nuanced. I clearly know I'm not going to be heading into oncoming traffic with my brights on, but is it,
I don't think it's illegal.
Yeah, I just asked the question.
And if it is, I think it's a secondary offense. Like, they're not going to pull you over for the brights, but if you're doing something else, then they'll get you for the brights as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm out here
because the brights are different than, like, if you don't have your lights on, they'll pull you over, right?
See,
you were asking a legality question, not a should you question.
I feel like I should hit him over the head with his own guitar.
Yeah, we would if he was here tomorrow, but he's gonna be in Charlotte.
Yeah, he was. I hope you feel some type of way about that too, Daniel, because you used to always be at our breakfast.
Yeah, he was one of our ride or dies on the breakfast.
I feel some type of way.
Well, like you may have mentioned it before. I mean,
missing good breakfast, Daniel.
Some of those newer high beams, some of those newer lights are really.
And full disclosure, I was in the loaner, so it looked a little darker because these lights on my regular vehicle are like
super bright,
and they're the
LED or whatever.
Yeah,
yeah.
They look different. So I was like, "Are these things on?"
Yeah. No, I got you. I've been like that in the.
Thank you for being a friend. Unlike Amazing Daniel.
Well, I'm very kind. People know this about me.
Glad his wife is cool. You're certainly not kind. Shane, you want to do the exercise first or get Commander Cody?
Let's get Commander Cody first.
Commander Cody, good morning, man. How are you?
I'm struggling. The Royals they really got me down bad right now.
Hey, so you know what? Do they have a pulse though, Commander Cody?
I don't know. You got maybe against the Nationals, but the Giants and Braves scare me down the stretch, especially since Ozzie Albies is back.
I don't know if I would be worried about the Braves.
Yeah, because they're getting healthy.
No, I mean whether they're going to get in or not. They're a
there's
full 2 games back.
Yeah, but they got the Royals on the schedule.
Oh, wow.
Hey, Damon, I think driving with your brights on is about as illegal as when our parents told us growing up it was illegal to drive with the dome light on.
So the dome light thing, I used to snap at the kids all the time.
Mhm.
Now that you say that, Cody, that's where I got it from. Because driving
100%.
Because whenever they turn it on, I'm like, I can't see. There's a reflect, and I freak out. I'm like, that is totally my dad being mad at me.
I thought it would instantly kill someone. When I was a kid, my parents made such a big deal about it.
That is incredible you brought that up, Cody. That is a total DB thing.
I thought if I turn this on for a second, someone's dead.
Yep.
I thought there was instant.
So you mean that's not a thing, Cody? Damn. Learn something new every day. Okay.
Hey,
yeah.
I have a question for you guys that stems from my group chat.
Okay.
All week we've been hearing.
Is this the one where you guys make fun of Sauter? Because I want to be a part of that group chat.
No.
Okay, different one.
Sauter's
okay.
my guy. I'll never make fun of him.
Damn it.
No. So all week we've been hearing here we're in Big Ten play. We only think the D-line rotation is going to get down to 5 or 6 guys, right? So I wanted to do an exercise with you.
Okay.
Obviously, Ty, Nash, and Jabari are all going to play.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the next 5, Cam Lenhart's going to play. Jamison Williams is going to play. Now, Ty Wallen, Vincent Carroll Jackson, Elijah Judy. Are they in that rotation, or what do you think? That's 8 guys right there.
I would say yes. I think they cut down on defensive backs. I think they cut down on an O-lineman or 2, and I think a receiver or 2. I don't think
and I think at middle linebacker,
maybe
see 4 guys.
Yep, I think you'll see 4.
Yeah, I don't know that they're going to cut down on
I don't think D-line will be the place that.
I think they like having fresh guys in there.
Yeah.
Now you may see more snaps out of the.
Although the Judy Wallen, Vincent Carroll Jackson thing is
that group
interesting.
May not see as much
because I would imagine Wallen and Judy. I don't know about VC. It's just Vincent. Wait, it's just Vincent Carroll now.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think you'll continue to see Judy. He's been playing earlier.
That's a fantastic question, Cody. But I do think.
But here's the other thing you got to remember about this, Cody, is we talked about this yesterday. If Rule's going to redshirt Riley Van Poppel, then it's possible some of these other guys are also only going to play 4 games. And so you might be rotating guys in based on a 4-game basis, not necessarily on a per-game basis.
Yeah, he did talk about his roster management. It's almost like we spoke it into existence.
I think you might listen.
And then
that's incredible.
My last question is for Damon and Shane.
Oh, boy.
Is Jay Clemens still alive? I miss hearing his story.
Yeah, so I follow him on Twitter. He is, he's alive and kicking.
It's more so the stories about his roommate.
Or his love interests, or we'll get Jay on just to talk about something. I appreciate
that and some fantasy football talk would be great.
Hey, remember him?
He used to talk about his ex-wife all the time, right?
And his friend, was it Drunk Dan?
Oh, yeah.
Was it Drunk Dan? Was it Drunk Dan?
Yeah, his roommate.
Those were some great stories.
Drunk Dan finally got married, though.
You guys have a good day. Good luck.
All right, buddy. Thank you. Is this an exercise in futility, or is this an exercise?
No, we were talking about Bret Bielema, and
you've done some research.
I think that his time at Arkansas is misremembered, especially within the context of what Arkansas football is.
Degenerate Aaron would like to know who calls himself amazing. He's listened to us for 15 years. How does Degenerate Aaron not know that Daniel is a weirdo like that?
I mean, So I'm going to give you 3 different, because Bielema was at Arkansas for 5 years.
Speaking of nicknames, it's my dude.
At least that's better than, you know what? I'm going to call you KD.
AA Ron. All right, go.
I'm going to
What,
give you.
what does KD mean?
Good talk, Shane.
We're going to do this thing again. We're going to keep this thing rolling.
I'm going to give you 3 different 5-year stretches.
Okay.
You tell me if you can figure out which one's Bret Bielema.
Okay.
Okay? This is in Arkansas football. I think the context of Arkansas matters when you're talking about Bret Bielema.
Okay.
Okay? 7-5, 9-5, 9-4, 5-6, 4-7. That's one 5-year stretch. Okay? Next one. 3-9, 7-6, 8-5, 7-6, 4-8. The last one. 2-10, 3-7, 9-4, 7-6, 4-8. Which cluster is Bielema?
Oh, the middle one.
That's correct.
Let's go.
Do you know who the first one was?
Petrino.
Nope.
Who?
Petrino's the outlier here. Houston Nutt,
Okay.
who we thought was pretty good.
Oh, he had some classic pressers.
We thought Houston Nutt was pretty good.
Yep.
Left Arkansas for the Ole Miss job.
Yep.
Didn't get fired. Everybody was pretty happy with Houston Nutt at Arkansas. Nebraska tried to steal him at one point. So it was Houston Nutt, Bret Bielema, and Sam Pittman. The only outlier in the list is really Bobby Petrino, who had multiple 10-win seasons. No one else had that level of success. In fact, outside of one Houston Nutt 10-win season, you have to go back to 1989 to get a 10-win
Southwestern
season
Conference
for Arkansas.
Mm.
So in the context of who Arkansas is, not who they think they are, who they are, Bret Bielema was not bad. He had 3 winning seasons, 3 bowl games. Bad one on the front end, bad one on the back end. I'm not even saying he shouldn't have been fired, but you can't look at his time there and be like, he was terrible, because he wasn't.
It's interesting.
In the context of Arkansas football, he was about what Arkansas football
Yeah,
is.
I like that. That's good perspective.
Like,
It's
kind of like the Matt Campbell thing for me.
It's rare for you, but
I mean, I have my moments.
But
the context of who your program is matters when measuring success, right?
Yes.
Bret Bielema was better than we think. I think he's underrated as a coach.
Wow. Should I change my score prediction?
No.
I kind of feel like when I ask the question, I feel like he's a good coach. I don't know if we say that he's a good coach.
That's why I say he's underappreciated. He's good at what he does. A lot of his stuff, and he was really good at Wisconsin, but a lot of that gets poo-pooed because he's like, oh, he took over a good program.
Or he got Russell Wilson. I mean, that's the low-hanging fruit.
Well, you know what he had to do? He had to go get Russell Wilson.
Mm.
You have to get credit for the guys you bring in, right? Kicking off hour number 2. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and we're brought to you by our friends over at Game Day Men's Health. And I want to tell you about one of the new premier men's health clinics in Omaha. And one of the things they specialize in is testosterone replacement therapy. I know everybody likes
TRT.
That's right. It's a little shorthand there. I like that.
Well, my man John gave me that.
I know a lot of people want to do the telehealth thing and do all that, but each guy is different. And going to a clinic like Game Day Men's Health allows them to tailor and specialize the treatment for you specifically. It's not this cookie cutter plan, and they can take care of you at Game Day Men's Health. Also, don't forget, they care about more than just your testosterone. They care about your entire health as a guy, and that includes prostate. It's Prostate Awareness Month here in September. You can get a free PSA screening along with that free testosterone check through the month of September. Make sure you get to GameDayMen'sHealth.com/Southwest-Omaha to schedule an appointment, get in there, and get your health checked out. That's Game Day Men's Health.
And I got a great name.
Oh, it's terrific. I've been in there. We're going to go hang out there, but it's a cool little place too. Like, you'll feel comfortable. It's nice. That's not like, sterile like a doctor's office. It's a nice place. You gotta go check it out.
It's all about how it smells.
I don't remember. You're bigger on smells than I am.
Yes, I am.
You're a big smells guy.
Yeah.
It didn't smell bad. I know that.
I just want you to know, contrary to popular belief, it's the olfactory nerves that kick off the mood, not your sight.
Yeah.
This smells delicious.
I will say there's been a couple hotels that I've been to that smell incredible.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I really like those hotels because of that.
It would be better than if it looked nice and it smelled like poop.
That's true. You don't want it to smell like poop.
I don't mean literally. I'm just saying.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, literally, you don't want it to smell like
Hey,
poop either.
well, I'm going to need you to grow up. All right?
I mean, that's going to be hard for me. You know what I'm like.
John asked where Commander Cody's from. Commander Cody's from Omaha.
Omaha?
Right down the street.
What street?
Big Commander Cody guy. So the real
Is that wrestling Cody? Is that the same guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know who that is.
So the real Denny, not the made up Dennis.
Okay. Well, he's not made up. It's just that's his.
Yeah, he's a real person, but it's a different name.
It's not like an AI person.
Yeah. So my real Denny, DP says, Kansas got pressure, and they aren't in you. Illinois cannot out game plan in you. They will be ready. Would not surprise me if it was 42-10. Riles slipped and told us that they're going to be looking downfield in the Monday presser. His real prediction, though, is 30-17.
Ooh.
So I was talking with TK yesterday, and you could tell he's going to make a good courtroom attorney because he basically was haggling over half a point.
Yeah.
But he did give me some good data. He's like, hey, FanDuel is giving you such and such for Illinois' team total.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I said, that sounds about right. That's going to be right around my prediction.
Mm-hmm.
And it was 1 point different than the number he told me.
Mm.
And he goes, yeah, I just see a few more field goals than actual touchdowns. And I said, I'm not going to die on the 1 point hill.
Yeah.
Right. Like if you're telling me the difference was
14 or 13 or whatever.
It's cool. It's a prediction, but it appears
mm-hmm.
that the number he gave me from FanDuel for their team total
mm-hmm.
is about what I think. And it's a smidge plus money, which means they think it's more apt to happen than not.
Yeah.
Little bit of plus money.
A little bit of plus money?
Yeah.
Let's get to the Hurrdat hotline. My guy, Evan, on the line. Evan, what's up, buddy?
Now, this is inside information. We got to listen to this.
That's true. He's live from Champaign. What's up, bud?
What's going on, guys?
Evan, did you not get on the team? Wait, they probably haven't left yet. Will you be on the team bus?
I will not. No.
Well, can't you play the role of team chaplain and maybe do the service tonight? Or
his buddy's actually the team chaplain.
They already got that guy. Yeah. Yeah.
You don't want to take your friend's job. I get it. You seem like a good guy, Evan.
No. That'd be rough. You know what I am? DB, we need to talk about this more because I am the Illinois wrestling team chaplain.
Let's go wrestling. Big wrestling guy.
So we need to talk more wrestling. Come on.
So today, Evan, you'll be glad to know I am wearing a Nebraska Omaha wrestling sweatshirt as we speak. I am all in on wrestling. So what's going on with these tackles, Evan? Can we speed rush these guys? Or are they like Orlando Pace reincarnated?
Well, I can tell you right now, they're not Orlando Pace reincarnated.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
That's not their level. Not their level. Ravi and I were talking about this the other day. It's been so interesting watching this offensive line because it really feels like if you go straight up, if you're just like everyone go, they seem to do okay. But the second you start throwing stunts in,
yeah, because they're huge.
It's just like it's like they've never sometimes watched film on what a stunt actually is and what to do. So, I don't know. That's probably not the best thing for an offensive line, but it's just like the tackles are good.
Okay.
Right now, the center and the guards.
So are you talking about Kreutz? Because he's the smallest of the bunch, but man, he comes from good stock.
Yeah, he's mean.
His dad was mean.
Dude, his dad had the craziest eyes in football.
Listen, his dad arguably might have been one of the toughest. If it wasn't for guys like Greg, Kreutz was a nightmare.
Yeah, you didn't mess. And so he's the center. His son's the center, and his other son is our linebacker. He's one of the middle linebackers. So and they look completely different, which is wild. But they're both just the meanest dudes on the team.
Yeah, I probably
so here's the
come
thing.
by it honestly.
in pass protection, they seem to do fine. They struggled to get push on the run game.
So you guys are
And
kind
that's
of been
where I think
running back by committee. Who needs to get it going? For you got a scat guy, you got your fat guy, but it's not really fat like with Caden. Who needs to? I don't mean like that was PHAT, like the big guy. Who needs to get it going for the ground game?
Well, I think it's been running back by committee because they haven't needed to do anything else. They've been trying to keep guys healthy because we've struggled, especially last year. That running back room went through so many injuries. And so when you're looking at, playing against Eastern Illinois or playing against Central Michigan, Kansas is a little different, but it's like we didn't have to run Caden Fagan 30 times. He's the guy.
That's what I think.
He's 6'4", 6'5", 250. He's got speed. He always falls forward. I think there was a stat last year. He had like three runs that didn't make it past the line of scrimmage all season. Like he's a giant human.
Yeah.
That I think they've been trying to keep healthy. And now that we're entering Big Ten play, I think you're going to see a lot more of him.
So, Evan, you said you're a little – oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that's the problem is you're going to see more of him, but the kind of the tip of that spear of the offensive line, there's just not a lot of push so far. So when you look at the two guards in the center, it just seems like it's very stationary, and is not – and, that's kind of not good to see against Central Michigan or even – I mean, Kansas' defensive line isn't great, so even there is a little bit of a worry.
All right, so how good – so help me kind of compartmentalize the turnover margin because Kansas was awful charitable. And they went +4 in that one, but they're +8 on the season. Like, how much of that is fact versus fiction?
Well, I will say so. Kansas was, really more +3. The last play of the game, Hail Mary, was they sacked him. He fumbled. We recovered it with no time on the clock. Like I don't know if I guess it counts, but that's more fiction probably. But then. Jalen Daniels looked terrible.
I don't know what's wrong with him. He's not the same. He's not the same.
He's not the same dude. And so 2 of his interceptions were, I mean, just it was like JV football. I mean, it just wasn't even staring him down, threw it right at the defender. One is, and this is where most of our turnovers come. Our 2 safeties are hawks.
Yeah, and they're back healthy. That's a good tandem. That's a really good tandem.
They're back healthy. So if you look at our free safety and our really kind of he switches from the other safety and nickel, the Scott brothers. They're not actually related. They're more like the Bash Bros, but they're both Xavier Scott, Miles Scott. They are so good at making you think there's a hole and then like baiting you into that throw and then cutting it off. And so I'm excited to see them against Raiola because I think this will be, we're not a stellar defense, but I think this will be the best defense he's played so far. And I'm really interested to see what kind of throws he can make and how he responds against a ball hawking defense like that. But the other turnovers are legit. Like I think it's a little bit fact. And then the other side of that is that on offense, man, we've been really smart with the ball. Like Luke's not thrown an interception yet. We hold on. We've got 1 fumble, but we hold on to the ball well. Like it's a 2-sided coin.
Who would you take your pick on the outside? Would you go with Franklin or I almost said Beatty, Bryant?
They're both incredible, but they play different.
People forget how good Franklin was at UTSA. I mean, he was a conference All-America. I don't know what happened at Ole Miss.
Well, I think he's the leader in receptions and yards, the nation leader career-wise, because he killed it at UTSA.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, Illinois fans don't forget, because UTSA came in here Brett's first year and beat us, and he had about 8 billion yards on this little 5-yard slant. I mean, it was the most frustrating game. And they tried to get him when he went to Ole Miss because Barry Lunny was his offensive coordinator
yeah.
at UTSA.
Yeah.
And so they tried to get him when he went to Ole Miss, but he took a big bite of the apple. And then he had some injuries, and it just didn't work out. And now, I mean, he's quick. He's got great hands. And so if we're talking like, you know, it's 3rd and 5, and I need someone to get a first down, I'm going Zachary Franklin. If it's 1st and 10 play action, we're going for the big play, I'm going Pat Bryant. Because that dude, if he gets his hands on it, down the sideline, like he's coming down with it. He's so good with his feet on the sideline.
His body, it's his body control. He is incredible.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Evan. I'm changing my prediction. Illinois 78, Nebraska 7.
Evan, what's something you've seen that Illinois is going to struggle with Nebraska?
I think it all comes back to that run game. Okay, I looked this up last night. I was like, okay, I'm really interested in this. So, hot take maybe. I know most people there are not. I was a big Scott Frost fan. You know, I love Scott Frost at Nebraska as an Illinois fan.
Wow.
And so
wow.
I wanted the extension. I was cool with throwing our last game just so he could, you know, stay there. But
incredible.
So in 4 years, Scott Frost, Illinois went 3-1 against Scott Frost. And in those 4 games, we had 190 rushes for 1,024 yards. So we averaged 256 yards rushing a game, 5.5 yards a carry against Scott Frost. Last year, Matt Rule's first year, do you remember the rushing stats that we had?
Yeah, it was, well, if you don't count quarterback sacks, it was less than 20, right?
It was 19 rushes for 21 yards.
Man, DB is on one today. Let's go.
DB, you might be the smartest person I've ever talked.
Evan, I love the pastor in you. You're very encouraging. God has blessed you with the gift of exhortation.
So I think.
All right, I'm changing my prediction. 78-21 now.
All right, okay, good. I think that's it. It's can Illinois figure out how to run the ball? And if they can't, I mean, it's not going to be a fun night, because like you said, I think Nebraska's defensive line will tee off. If it's obvious passing situations, it's going to look like Caleb Williams back there, and it's just not going to be a lot of fun.
Wow.
Why you got to do that to the Bears fans in your life, Evan?
Listen, hey, well, I'm a Bears fan. That's what I'm saying. It looks like they've never watched film.
All right, our resident correspondent in Champagney,
Buddy,
Mr. Evan. I appreciate it, Evan.
It's good to hear from you. We'll talk later, all right?
Hey, last thing. How overrated is Bo Jackson? All right, see you guys.
He was doing so good.
He just lights the match and walks away.
That's pretty good scouting report, though, because I'm in.
He knows his stuff.
I'm in complete agreement. You know my favorite thing about that?
What?
They do have some dogs at safety.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of their safety play. I was going to talk about it yesterday with Ave, because she asked me about how Illinois likes to disguise coverage.
Yeah.
And she was asking these questions about like rotating and pre-snap looks. And I was like, ooh, this is such a good question, but how technical do I get? But we were on video, and I was like, ooh, I wanted my marker, and I was going to draw just like, I was just going to right there. But she got me going, and I was like, oh, fudge, she can't even cut this, right? This is like a 38-minute answer. But the question was so good, I'm just like, it's a big deal, because when they play match or quarters or like what they do, their pre-snap looks are pretty silly, which is why when Coach Rule talked about what they like to do defensively and how they get into it, it will be imperative for Dylan to be able to process quickly based on pre-snap.
Mhm.
And then did you listen to Dylan talk about what they do? This was like on Monday, and
Mhm.
I'm like, this dude has been on his iPad because the way that he talked.
Yeah. He
It's
knew
like-
it. He knew it.
I was like, this is incredible because this is the whole key to what Illinois does. Right. And she asked another good one. She said, like how she's like, do you think we will see a lot of pre-snap motion or something like that? And I was like, yeah, I could see Nebraska trying to dictate what kind of coverage Illinois will be playing.
Well, you want them to try and give something away, right?
Yeah.
Like, because that's what.
But their safeties are legit.
Because pre-snap motion, you're basically trying to accomplish one of two things. One, you're trying to get the matchup you want.
Yeah.
Or two, you're trying to get them to tell something about the coverage they're in.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, there might be other reasons, but those are the two I'm aware of, at least.
I'm just thinking to myself, that's a good call.
Yeah.
That offensive line is massive.
They're massive, but if they're bad guard, center guard,
I don't know if that's what I heard him say necessarily.
I think he said they're okay pass rush, but they're
Talking
not
about push.
moving the line.
Yeah.
On which, and then he went on to say, if it's an obvious passing down, like they're in trouble.
Mm.
So I do think we might have a big ass Ty Robinson game.
That's why I like kind of the Kai. I was very reluctant to say Judy and Wallen wouldn't dress. I don't know so much about Carroll. I assume he'll dress, but
yeah,
I mean they will come at Illinois in waves with this D line.
Yeah,
especially pass rushing.
Yeah, I think Judy will be there.
Kind of like Nebraska volleyball last night.
Man, I know we haven't gotten to that yet, but that was
talk about waves.
Wow,
I was shocked.
Oh, I mean, I guess I was a little too. Like, that's the number 2 team in the country.
Yeah, who looked fantastic all season.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I feel like we get a little desensitized to it sometimes with Nebraska volleyball.
Dude, he waved the white flag.
Yeah,
I felt like
Well, third set especially.
He's like, yeah, this
isn't our night.
This isn't our night.
We're not gonna spend the energy here.
Yeah,
it was wild. It was a butt whooping.
Just the wave made me think of that.
Man, it was crazy,
dude. How about? So, do you see like when they pan the
crowd?
The crowd?
Yeah.
But that's pretty snug in there.
Oh yeah.
I told you about those times. Sometimes you have to like go hide in like the rafters, or even if you're like way up along the. There's no way that's even. I mean, no fire code marshals or anything. But, dude, it is mob deep in there, especially up there along the.
Well, yeah,
and I've
like
stood, and
right?
I've been in there, and it's like, yeah, I hope nothing happens.
I don't think I've ever been in there when it's been that full for a standing room only, but it looks jam packed in there. Got some sardines going on.
How about have you changed your fave or Choboy fan?
I mean, I like Merritt Beeson a lot, but
she's getting it going.
I'll be honest, the Harper Murray stuff got to me.
Oh, so you're Team Harper?
Yeah, like I want her to succeed. I want to see her be successful. Like I really appreciate. I mean, we talked about this with Jordan Larson a little bit too. I really appreciate people that are willing to put their mental health out there for everybody to see, and not to be sympathetic or whatever, but just to be like, hey, this is the thing I'm going through. I know other people go through this too. I want to talk about it so people know they're not alone.
Yeah, if I have like an emotional fave, it would probably be Harp.
Mm-hmm. I just want to see her do well.
I'm a big Krause fan just because of her perseverance.
Yeah.
And she's getting it going.
Beeson just looks so intense. Like she's got like the intense eyes.
She does come across like that.
And I like that. I like the focus.
Choboy would be how I would play.
Yeah. Hard not to love.
She's a menace.
Hard not to love Lexi.
I don't know, man. I'm a big Bergen Rally guy.
Yeah.
She does it all.
I mean, people love Andy Jackson.
She's
got the cool nickname too. It's Stonewall. Like that's a cool nickname, especially in volleyball. That's
what did somebody dub her in our comment? Did somebody say Old Hickory?
Maybe. I don't know.
I think it was Crazy Travis S.
That makes sense.
Old Hickory, but
I mean, like, it's hard not to like appreciate just the full, I guess, effort of Lexi Rodriguez. Like the stuff that she gets to, is otherworldly. I'm just like, what are you even doing? You don't need it. Like she's diving into the third row, and it's like you're up by like 8 right now. Just chill.
Yeah. I want to give Putney a hard time. I thought, oh, I'm not going to say anything about the broadcast or football, but
Yeah.
I'm like, I always want to text him. Sometimes I do it during baseball because
Yeah.
it's a little slower.
Get a little more downtime.
Dude's pretty funny.
Do him and Benny Mac do those together, or they alternate?
For
baseball.
This was television.
Oh, okay.
So B-Mac has radio with Greg, and Larry a lot of times does baseball.
Does the TV.
So so and he's pretty good about texting back, but he had some. I like LP.
Coming up next, we're going to talk to our guy Dominic Casciato. He's the head coach for Union Omaha. They've got a big match coming up on Saturday. We will make sure to get all the info we need to there. And guess what? It's not a game day for Nebraska, so you can go see Union Omaha.
Yeah, I just want the day off.
Well, listen, it's a nice little leisurely time at the ballpark to watch a little soccer.
If I do, look out.
We'll talk to Dominic Casciato coming up next here on Hurrdat Sports Radio. Welcome back to Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. We are joined now by the head coach of Union Omaha, Dominic Casciato. Dominic, how are you this morning?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me,
Coach. Thanks for taking the time. I know you're getting to it, man. Does the mood or kind of the temperament change as you kind of gear up towards this portion of the season? Because you seem always pretty calm and cool. Is that the duck effect where you're paddling like crazy underneath, or are you just kind of easy?
Or is it just the cool English accent?
Yeah, I think it's definitely the duck effect. I think I'm definitely giving it everything I can under the surface, and somehow on top, it seems like we're in control and we're staying pretty calm. But no, there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes, as you guys know, to any successful organisation, especially in sports. There's so much time and effort that needs to be put forward by the coaching staff, by the players. And I think first and foremost, we've got great players here that buy into what we're doing. And secondly, we have a wonderful support staff that work super hard every day and make sure that the guys have everything they need to perform. So, business end of the season, and the duck is going into overdrive underneath the surface for sure.
So I'm curious, because the coach in me wants to ask another coach, right? You're coming fresh off the Jägermeister, and the travel schedule was a little different. You stayed. Now you come back for the weekend tilt. Did you have to do things different? How did you get the guys to stay dialed, accept the travel schedule kind of for what it is with this timing in the season to gear up for this weekend?
Yeah, it was tough. I've never done that before during the season, where I think it was essentially 6 days away from home.
Yeah.
And I know in other sports that's pretty normal, right? Like the baseball guys, basically, these guys live on the road throughout the season. We're not like that in soccer. It's 2 or 3 day trips and you're back. So it definitely takes some getting used to. And the other thing we had to take into consideration there in Colorado is the altitude, obviously. I think that takes a little while to get used to. And even though we're there for 6 days, it's probably not long enough to acclimatize. But no, I think the guys did a great job. Obviously, the first game was a disappointing one because going down to 10 men so early, I think it was 20 minutes in when Mishak went down and with a pretty serious injury at the same time, it was rough for us. And I think it maybe shook the guys up a little bit. But the way we responded, I thought was excellent on Saturday night. I thought we were deserved winners, and I think that sets us up nicely going into this weekend.
Coach, you mentioned this weekend you've got a marquee matchup. You guys are at the top of the table of USL League One. You got Knoxville in third place, just 4 points behind you. How much of an emphasis are you putting on just, hey, this is another game versus, hey, we're getting down to the nitty gritty here. We're trying to win a second player shield in a row. Like, how do you kind of balance those two things?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think you've got to be careful, because I think if you put too much emphasis on the nitty gritty and getting to the end, guys start to lose sight of what's in front of them. And you guys will know this as well as anybody else, having been in and around sports all your lives, is when you focus too much on future prizes or what's to come in 5 or 6 games' time, you can lose sight of what's in front of you. Right? It's almost like you get behind the wheel of a car and you're spending all your time looking ahead and you don't see what's coming either side of you, right? You don't see what's right in front of you. So for us, it's about making sure we stay focused on the present. That's the game against Knoxville. And we don't want to overplay that game either, right? We want to make sure we've got emotional control and that we're in control of the game with and without the ball from start to finish. So, yes, it's finding a balance. I think it's the messaging every day in practice, going into the game, leading up to the game. And I think so far this season we've done a pretty good job of that, and hopefully that continues going into Saturday night.
Such an interesting setup with Knoxville, with their interim coaching situation and kind of still the success that they've been able to have. When you're looking at the styles of play, are there formations, or there set pieces that you think that you can take advantage of based on what you've seen, or is this one of those deals where once you're out there on the pitch, you become, it's more of the managerial style than more the ebbs and flows?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. Again, I think it's a really good question because I think going into the game, everybody will identify strengths and weaknesses in the opposition, right? Like things you want to exploit, and then things you've got to be careful of. So we've obviously done that throughout the course of the week. The guys are aware of those things.
Yeah.
I'm sure they've done that as well. And I think it comes down to who can execute and either expose those weaknesses or use their strengths or nullify the opposition's strengths. And then in the game, obviously things happen, right? Like the game is chaotic. And then it comes down to how do you manage those chaotic moments to make sure that you're the one coming out on top.
Coach, I'm always a little bit curious when it comes to soccer, because more than most other sports around the world, they put a large emphasis on those regular season titles. Unlike some other places around the world, USL League One does have playoffs as well. Like how much emphasis do you put on the regular season, being successful, winning that regular season title versus winning that playoff title as well? Or is it just, hey, we're taking one at a time, we'll get to the next one when we get there?
Yeah, I think that's probably the best approach, and it kind of ties into what I said earlier about, you don't want to get too carried away, right? Like we know that if we win all of our remaining games, then we'll win the league, right? We'll win the regular season title, and that's great. But if you're thinking about winning 6 games, you probably lose sight of the one that's right in front of you. So for us, I think we always want to focus on what's right in front of us. But then I think, I think there's a general acceptance and knowledge, not just here, but around the world, that if you win the regular season title, over 22 games this year, I think it was 32 games last year. If you win the regular season title, then you've been the best team over the course of the year and you deserve to be champions. So we know that. Obviously, that's what we're striving for, but our focus is fully on Knoxville this weekend and getting 3 points here at home in front of our fans at Hurrdat Park.
So let me get you last one from me here, Coach. Coming back home after the little bit of layoff in the travel schedule, how important is it, or do you talk about being back in the familiar confines with a a really good home crowd? Do you talk about that much, or is it something that is just kind of expected now that you're back in the friendly confines?
Yeah, again, it's a funny one, right? Because if you talk about being at home, you talk about being at home all the time.
Yeah.
Then maybe the guys get a little bit too comfortable, right? And they're like, oh, well, we're just going to show up and win. And obviously that never happens. So again, it's one that you've got to find a balance of the week leading into the game. You've got to make sure, you have a finger on the pulse of the guys and what they're feeling and, what they need in terms of messaging. And I think, just focus on the job at hand. Hopefully, without mentioning being at home, the guys get a little list from it. The crowd gives them a little list. The fans give them a list, and that can help you get across the line and get the points that you need.
That is head coach Dominic Casciato of your Union Omaha. Coach, we appreciate the time. Good luck, not just this weekend, but through the rest of the season. And we'll catch up again soon.
Yeah, great, guys. Thanks a lot.
Hey, thanks, Coach.
That was head coach Dominic Casciato of Union Omaha. Great stuff there. Best accent of anybody we talked to, for sure, without a doubt.
One of the reasons I didn't want to go super technical, but one knocks, not only because I don't know,
sure,
but I mean, you've got one player with over 40 shot attempts,
Mhm.
right? So, and they don't have anybody else in the top 20. When I look at
Right.
their statistically,
Knoxville.
yeah, for
Yeah,
Knoxville
yeah.
was shot. So I'm thinking, okay, is this because even Union Omaha has a couple in the top 10, so they have a little bit more diversity.
Mhm.
So I just was thinking, do you play that different?
I mean, I think you almost,
flat back, you know what I mean? I
you
just
almost kinda
because I
have to.
do like formations and stuff like that. Just having
yeah.
followed it for so long, so I'm like,
I think you have to,
I
right?
kind of like the little cat and mouse deal.
Yeah.
But I always do as a nerdy coach, right? It doesn't
Yeah.
matter what the sport is.
Right.
By the way, did you see that picture I showed you?
Which
from,
one?
From volleyball?
Yes. The crowd.
Was that not incredible?
Unbelievable.
Like,
Unbelievable.
I'm looking at this thing, and I'm like, how did everybody get in there?
Dude, I don't even know.
Jamie's giving us a hard time that everybody's our favorite.
Well,
I'm trying to explain to Jamie that I like certain players for certain reasons.
and Dave giving us a hard time. He goes, "Poor Rebecca Alec got snubbed. She's not somebody I want on my bad side. Somebody's gonna pull that."
Hey, listen, I know her. I'm not trying to get whooped either. So
Somebody's gonna pull that clip.
she breeds intensity.
Somebody's gonna pull that clip of me saying I like Harper and Merritt, and they're gonna be like, "Oh, see, he clearly hates Rebecca Alec." It's right there in the clip. Didn't you hear it?
I feel like there's some snark in there.
No. Ryan Edwards coming up next, our Vegas Insider. See if we can make a little money this weekend. We've got B. Edwards coming up here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. Wrapping up hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. That's DBM Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage. We are efforting one B. Edwards. Where are you? Where
Looks
are
like
you, B?
he's getting here.
Oh, Brian. I didn't know TK's wife played soccer.
I didn't either.
I would agree. They're tough.
Soccer players?
Yes. I get the whole theatrics and gamesmanship, but
Not usually female soccer players.
my ex,
They don't flop like they
she's
do in men's.
broken hand, broken nose, an ACL. She was tough.
The men's and women's soccer is a totally different ballgame.
Hey,
What?
You're gonna get people mad at you again. This whole 8 versus 11 thing. We got B. Edwards though. I'm pretty happy
I'm just
about
saying,
that.
the women are tougher than the men when it comes to soccer. They don't flop like that.
Good morning, Brian. How are we doing? Uh-oh. Come on, mute man.
Oh no.
Oh, he's like, oh, my mute button. Oh.
He's
There
probably,
we go.
he's probably just found out-
What a mess. B,
So,
what? Like so many weeks in a row, you'll be spectacular, and then you'll just have this rut.
He's probably just distracted by how much he loves Billy Napier.
Yeah, I was just listening to Mike Sparrow just go ballistic on Florida fans. He said,
You know,
fix
I was-
the damn program.
right? Yeah, which means clear everybody out, including the UAA, which is like the athletic board of governors at other schools. But you said, how was I doing? And I was like, well, I was thinking, well, Damon, you're 3-0, and Ravi and I are 1-5 combined, so not as good as you.
Hey, so listen, I got a question though, because this is on the heels of UFC, and it was relatively easy against O'Malley. Do you now look at his record differently in terms of who he's beaten? Because I kind of went back and looked because it was fairly lackluster. How many good wins do you think O'Malley really has?
Oh, wow. Okay. So now I'm looking, you know, go ahead.
I'm kind of like, I think I left with that. Now he's exciting and he's explosive, but I think I feel like I have more questions than answers now.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, Cheeto.
Is that fair?
Cheeto's, no, that's fair, very fair. But Cheeto's a good win. Sterling was a great win, and Jan was
That's the one. And I don't know about Jan. I don't know about that Jan one, right?
Right,
Sterling was
debatable.
Yeah, Sterling was a great win.
Yeah, Cheeto was a pretty good win, but Cheeto's starting to look really slow here lately. Yeah, no, it's fair. And now he's hip surgery and maybe going to be out a year. I think he comes back with a lot to prove, especially how he was saying if he won last week, he's the biggest star in MMA after Conor loses his next fight. So yeah, he's got a lot to prove.
Whenever that is. How about
Right.
John Jones? How about John Jones?
Yeah,
Stipe, you like that?
Well, I mean, I'd rather it be Aspinall, but I think all the Jones talk of retirement is complete posturing to get Dana to offer him a king's ransom for the Aspinall fight. I would assume, but I mean, look, if Jones is smart, and I know we all respect Jones, but I mean, I don't think he's beaten Aspinall, and Jones isn't dumb, but Jones thinks he can beat Aspinall, and maybe he can. I don't think he can.
Really?
I don't think anybody can beat Aspinall. I don't think anybody can get out of the first round with Aspinall.
Ooh, okay.
Spicy take.
Gauntlet has been thrown down.
Yeah, and I firmly believe that. I don't think anybody's surviving round one with Aspinall for years to come.
He is a monster, and he's healthy. And he's healthy too.
And fast, real fast.
All right, let's talk a little college football. Although I do like being 3-0. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Let's go tonight. We've got a little Jets action. This line reeks. I mean, this is Rodgers and Brissett, right? What is going on with the number here, B? What did you make it, first of all?
I think I made it 4, but here, I've got it right here. Hold on.
Really?
I wrote down 3.5/4. I mean, my opinion of New England has grown astronomically since late August. I mean,
Mayo for coach of the year.
I mean, right now, yeah, they're running the ball. They're playing good defense. I mean, they went outright at Cincinnati. And Cincinnati looked pretty damn good last week, even without T. Higgins. And then they, are leading a good chunk of the game and into the fourth quarter pretty deep. And Seattle gets a field goal to force overtime. They lose by 3. They push. But the Jets defense doesn't – I mean, I know we've only got 2 data points, but the Jets defense does not look as elite as it was last year. I mean, they got to give an assist to Will Levis for not taking care of the football on last week's win. I mean, maybe they win anyway, but, yeah, I'm just not impressed with what I've seen from the Jets. And, I don't like road teams on the short week, but it's not like I don't know what the flight time is from Boston to New York, but I can't imagine it's more than an hour. I like the Pats +6. Are there any 6.5s out there?
I'm seeing.
Anyway, if it gets to 6.5, I'd buy the half point to 7. I
am not seeing any 6.5s, but I am seeing -6 at -115 though, so it may be moving that way.
I see a 6.5 at South Point, but that's the only one I see. I'm just saying, if your number's 6.5, buy it to 7. But I like the Pats at +6.
B, let's move to college here. Cincinnati -3.5 versus Houston. What do you like there?
I like Cincinnati a lot. South Point also has a 3, but I'm okay at 3.5. But not a whole lot of difference between 3.5 and 4. Obviously you push on 4, so maybe wait it out, see if we get a 3 here. But I like how Brendan Sorsby, the ex-Indiana quarterback, is playing for Satterfield. He's got 6 touchdown passes without an interception and 2 rushing TDs. They should not have lost to Pitt. They blew a 34-14 lead with a minute and a half left in the third. But my former Gator, Xavier Henderson, 22 catches, 289 yards, 1 touchdown. I made the Bearcats -7, and I like them -3.5 to Houston.
All right, you're drinking all that good water they got in Bloomington, laying a big number. And full disclosure, we talked about this a ton more than any station in Nebraska should. But Seghetti, he stole the show at Big Ten Media Days. I really thought as much as an Indiana Hoosiers team could steal the show at Big Ten Media Days, he did. Very bold, very confident, very brash. He's now laying 28, and you're all in, huh?
Yeah, I like this guy. I don't know if it was his intro presser when he got hired or if it was Big Ten Media Day, but he goes, "I win. Google me." And he's winning. He's 3-0, and Curtis Rourke looks fantastic. 74.3 completion percentage, 7 touchdowns, no picks, a rushing touchdown. I mean, they look good. They haven't played anybody, but Charlotte's not any good anyway, and they're down to their third string quarterback, who actually was their starter last year and had a 4-10 TDI-INT ratio on the season. So buy the half point from 28.5 to 28, and let's go with Indiana.
All right, B. You're basically just fading all the Florida schools. Is that right? You got Cal plus 2.5 against Florida State. You got Mississippi State plus 6 against Florida. Is that just like a, hey, until they prove me otherwise, we're just fading them?
Although I do think Cal is good. This number stinks. Cal should be favored.
1 million. Yeah, I think so. 1,000,000% what Ravi said, but I will point out that Justin Wilcox has always been nasty as an underdog. 18-9 ATS as a road dog, 30-15 and 45 total games as dogs at Cal. Norvell 8-13 against the spread, 21 games as a home favorite since he got to FSU, and since Jordan Travis got hurt, FSU has not gotten 300 yards of total offense in 6 consecutive games. Jaden Ott's back this week, but his backup, Javion Thomas, is averaging 7.8 yards per carry. Anyway, Mendoza's playing really well at quarterback. And FSU, I won't bore you with the stats, but they have been bad in the trenches. Both sides.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
I'm aware.
And then Florida's not doing anything good either, and neither is Mississippi State. But
wow.
I think Mississippi State's getting good quarterback play from Shapen, the Baylor transfer, 70.1 completion percentage, 834 yards, 7-1 TDI-INT ratio. Napier is a favorite at Florida, 3-8-1 against the spread. You go back his last 2 years at Louisiana, combine it with Florida, 9-19-1 against the spread, last 29 as a favorite. He's horrible. He's a pathetic 7-16 straight up against Power 5 competition. Mississippi State wins outright.
Ooh, catching 6 off a ugly, humiliating loss. Okay, B, I like the little I'm peeved factor. They'll get them back. You got a team total with Tennessee?
Yeah, man. So the DraftKings on the look ahead line last week had Tennessee at -2, then 3, then 3.5, then 4, then 6. Now it's 7. So it's kind of, I would still, if I had to pick it, I'd still take Vols -7 on the road. But, Venables will have a good defensive plan. And, we still haven't seen Tennessee's defense tested. So I'm just going to go Nico and the Vols team total over 32.5. Not a big opinion. But the way they're rolling, I figure I got to have some sort of little action on Tennessee's offense, so I'll go that way.
It's the principle of the matter, right, B? It's principle.
Right.
That's our guy, Brian Edwards, our Vegas insider. You can find him at majorwager.com. B, we appreciate it as always. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, fellas. See you guys.
Coming up next, we're going to talk to our guy, Michael Bruntz, Husker 24/7, here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. Kicking off hour number 3 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590,
zip it.
ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln.
Professional intros and all that type stuff. Who needs radio mechanics when we have one of the greatest guests of all time?
I'm not a mechanic.
Well, you like this protocol, this whole bringing us back and getting us out. Like, those dynamics are overrated in radio. Just make it up on the fly. Remember, it's an easy job.
You've been doing this longer than I have. I'm not as good as improvising as you are.
Well, I'm telling you, if all else fails, book a good guest and just say, hey, whoever's on the other end, you're up. Hi, Bruntsy.
I think that means you, Bruntz.
From Mr. 24/7. Did I not sound like a pro?
Sorry, not everybody here went to Millard North. They don't have everything buttoned up like we do, Bruntz.
Wow.
That was pretty professional. You were like the grizzled baseball manager yelling at the guy down under the bench to grab a bat. Like, hey, grab a bat.
You're in.
You're hitting for Jablonski. Like that.
That's a good name. I like that. Very creative, Bruntz.
Jack Cust, you're up.
Bruntz, what is your go-to baseball movie?
Go-to baseball movie?
Yeah.
I've developed an appreciation for the original Major League. I would say that's probably up there. If I'm looking for a little bit more of a comedy. Moneyball's always on now. It's kind of like the new Goodfellas. You can pretty much find it on any network. And I have an appreciation for it, obviously. It's quotable.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think if there's like a sneaky good baseball movie that makes its way into my rotation, but I can't think of one.
I was ridiculed last week on air for accidentally divulging that I had not seen Field of Dreams.
Oh, wow.
I mean, ridiculed.
I didn't ridicule you.
I know.
Oh, okay. I was like, would you?
Damon, I feel like you would like Field of Dreams.
I feel like I wouldn't. Just going out on a limb there. I don't know, Bruntz. I mean, would I?
I think so.
It's an entertaining story. There's some father-son stuff there that I feel like you would appreciate at this stage of your life. Like I think you'd like it.
I don't know, man.
He's really more of a for love of the game guy.
I am actually.
I've never seen that.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
That is so good.
I like that one a lot.
That's the Costner.
Yeah, the cathedral that Ruth built now belongs to a chapel.
Yeah, that's a good line.
They had to really work to get that. They had to convince Steinbrenner that the Yankees weren't going to lose, and then the Yankees lost, right?
Yeah, and then they're like, just kidding, but yeah, that's actually a true story.
Yeah.
Okay, before we get too far away,
Bruntz, you always struck me as a summer catch guy.
I don't even know what that is.
I haven't seen that one either.
That was a joke. That's a Freddie Prinze Jr. movie.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, that's the one where they're in the Cape Cod League.
Right? Yeah.
Freddie Prinze Jr. Really deep pull. Hey, Bruntz, before we get into Nebraska and why Illinois will win by 60, who's least likely to get into the playoffs? Bruntzy. Okay, are you ready?
Okay.
Are you ready? The Atlanta Braves or the Detroit Tigers?
So my view of this question is skewed by who I work with. That's the start to my answer.
Oh boy.
My answer is that there seems to be some legitimate fear among some in the offices that the Tigers are going to get it done.
I wonder who that's from.
Yeah. So there's some fear there. And so I'll say the Braves are less likely to do it because I from what I understand and not watching much AL Central baseball, the Detroit Tigers are basically the 85 Bears of baseball. So,
well,
I have to say this about the Braves. It is very cool to see Spencer Schwellenbach getting the run that he is getting with the Braves, and people kind of figuring out that he's a really, really good pitcher that hasn't really scratched the surface yet.
Not bad for a guy Nebraska would run out there in every high leverage situation, and we're like, is Schwelly ever going to get any downtime? Nope.
Yeah.
Run him out there.
He's fine. Don't worry about it.
Well, and not only that, but a guy that was playing shortstop for two years and didn't even pitch. Like that's the amazing thing.
Yeah, and another one of his teammates, Kate Povich, will have a big one against Lopez in that final 3-game set for some aforementioned mysterious colleague, because they have Boston, Miami, and then B-more to close it out.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, you need Slim to show up in that one.
Another good pull. Do we know that? Do we know that off the cuff? Slim.
That's his alter ego.
Oh,
his pitching alter ego.
I know it. I got you. I'm with you, Bruntz.
Yeah.
Speaking of the 85 Bears, since now we've established that Illinois has Dave Duerson, the late great Dave Duerson, and Gary Fensick playing safety for them, will Dylan Raiola be able to read coverages here, Bruntzy?
It feels sarcastic. Usually that's my job, DB.
I just was trying to tie the whole thing together.
No, that was pretty good, actually. That was not bad.
Thank you.
That was a very professional segue.
About as professional as my entrance or my bringing you on the show. Hey, you. Time to talk.
Yeah. Jablonski, grab a bat. I think. I mean, Illinois is very good at it, at disguising coverages and getting turnovers. I mean, I think you've got to give a little bit of credit to Dylan for the way that he prepares.
His Monday presser was incredible.
I don't think he prepares like he's 19, so that helps. I mean, you got a coach talking in your ear down to 15 seconds. So if there's something that they see upstairs, they can get that down there. I mean, I think they'll make it work. And I don't know. I mean, if as long as he's not putting the ball in a bad spot, I feel like Nebraska's going to be okay. I mean, I think that's, the turnover thing is so big for what Nebraska's done so far in offense this year. And if they, don't get sloppy on Friday, I think they'll be okay. Like I think they'll be more than fine as long as they're not giving Illinois extra possessions. So,
Bruntz, is that in your mind kind of the only path to victory for Illinois? Like if, let's say, turnovers are even, let's say,
really?
I'm asking. What?
I'm listening.
Well, you look.
It's because I changed the position of my seat.
Look at me like I'm Freddie Prinze Jr. over here.
More professionalism on this end, Bruntz.
Do you see a path to victory for Illinois where they don't win the turnover battle?
No. I mean, I think that's going to be that's the number. That's what you got to really pay attention to. And I mean, unless Altmaier turns into Clayton Thorson back there running around and making plays with his feet.
Oh, do you remember that?
You like that?
He went over. He went for 100 in the first half. What are you doing?
He wasn't even the best random player on the team that
What
day.
are you doing, Bruntz? Oh my gosh, I'm traumatized now. After his third 20-yard run, I'm like, God, they might want to tackle that guy.
Yeah, no, they turned Dean Lowry into Steve McMichael that day. Pretty impressive.
Oh, got him drafted.
No, I think it did. I think if you're Nebraska's defense, if you're able to contain Altmaier and keep him in the pocket, I think that's a big key. I mean, the turnover thing's huge, and I mean that feels like a thing where if Nebraska just does what Nebraska can do, it should be. It'll be a tight game, I think, but I think Nebraska will be fine. So, I guess to go back to your original question, that's what I'm looking at. I don't know what the path forward looks like otherwise, unless they're just hitting 50-50 balls on offense. I think that's the other thing that they've at least got the ability to do is get a little explosive with those two wide receivers.
Bruntz, when you're talking about we boiled Colorado down to a game in the trenches, and a lot of times people want to say that's like football anyway, but I'm hearing kind of that narrative again where Nebraska's D-line can do blank against Illinois' offensive line. Outside of the turnovers, is that the next best storyline to see if you want to know how this game's going to go?
Yeah, I mean, I think, go back to last year. I mean, my vague remembering of it was that Nebraska was able to muck things up quite a bit for Illinois' run game. And I mean, I think if you can do that again, or at least control that line of scrimmage when Nebraska's on defense, I mean, I think that gives you a pretty good shot of doing some things. I don't know. I mean, I feel like there's also kind of this narrative, and I believe it a little bit, that we're going to see kind of where the Nebraska offensive line is at. I mean, I think they've protected fine in passing situations, but can they, just line up and run the ball at Illinois with the backs? Because I think last year, the Harburg running the way he did was a really nice changeup that I don't think Illinois was really ready to defend. And if Nebraska's offensive line can keep them on schedule, I mean, maybe that limits the opportunities that Illinois has to go 85 bears and disguise coverages. I mean, if you're facing 3rd and 3 with regularity, or 3rd and 4, I mean, that opens the playbook a ton. And I think when you look at what Nebraska's done through 3 games this year, they've largely been able to stay on schedule. There have not been a lot of situations where Nebraska's been 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10, that kind of stuff. I think that's been maybe something that's been lost in these first 3 games is that they've been able to be pretty efficient in that way.
We're talking with Michael Bruntz, Husker 24/7. What level of concern do you have about Illinois and with the big running backs as compared to what we saw last week with Northern Iowa, with those guys consistently falling forward and kind of getting that leaky yardage, as I think Tony White called it? Is that something you think is going to be an issue for Nebraska again this week?
We'll see. I mean, they need to tackle better. There's no doubt about that. I mean, I'm sure that's been something that's been hammered home this week in practice. I think Nebraska in that first half missed Mekhi Bayer a lot. I mean, I think
I was surprised that he didn't start the second half.
Yeah, I was too. I think he just brings something a little bit extra as a tackler, certainly as kind of an emotional leader and a guy that guys feed off of. I mean, I think that was missing in the first half. But, that's something Nebraska's got to do better. I don't know if I'm concerned about it, but it seems like, personnel being a little bit different. Also having Jamari Butler in there, this game will help a ton. But, the tackling thing has been mentioned a couple times, at various times this season. And I don't know if that's just a nitpicky thing from the coaching staff, but it's something that, you at least have to pay attention to, because I think they've tackled well at times and maybe not so much at other times. So that's got to be a little bit more consistent.
How good are you feeling about the matchup on the outsides with Buf and T. Hill against Franklin and Bryant? I mean, it's a pretty good matchup vertically.
It is. I mean, it's, the Nebraska's defensive backs are just going to have to make a play or two in this game. And, I think, teams have largely just kind of ignored Tommy Hill because, that's the kind of challenge he presents. And I don't know that Illinois is going to have that same fear. I mean, I think they've been, in spite of not turning the ball over, they've been okay with giving those guys an opportunity to make plays and make contested catches. So, it's going to be a big game for Buford on the outside. I'll be curious to see kind of how Nebraska approaches things in terms of coverages and whatnot. But, that's going to be, Ravi, when you ask me, what's the path forward for Illinois if they are not able to win the turnover battle. I mean, if you hit a couple of those deep balls, that makes the picture look a little bit different in Illinois' favor. So it might be one of those games where, when you're kind of playing the highlights over the draft pick in the spring, this might be one of those games for Tommy Hill.
Bruntz, we heard, Coach Rule kind of talk about getting guys out on the road and kind of always be recruiting. It seems like we went a long time without understanding why coaches aren't more visible at high schools when they have open nights. Is this something that is like the simple versus easy? Like, is this duh moment, or are you not really taken aback by it because you feel like that's something that good coaches should have always been doing?
Yeah, I mean, you should get out if you can. I mean, I think that's it's a good thing. I mean, it's tough. I get it from Nebraska's point of view, where it's like, there's a limited number of places you can probably go locally when you got a home game. That you have. I mean, you kind of be going to the same places every week. You know what I mean? So I get that point of it, but a little visibility is okay. The fact that the rules have changed and you can decide who your 10 counters are, that's huge for Nebraska. If you think about it this way, I mean, they had Keith Williams in St. Louis. They had Jamar Mosey down in Kansas City. I mean, Keith Williams in St. Louis is a big deal. I mean, he knows everybody down there. Everybody knows him. He talks to everybody down there. Guys that he grew up playing with now have kids they have kids who are recruits and are around those kids. I mean, there's just so many connections and so much benefit to having those guys be able to go out versus, having to send Rob Dvorak or somebody to St. Louis. I mean, it really is a pretty big deal that change has happened. And I think, from just a local recruiting point of view. I mean, if you can have the head coach out there on a Thursday night for a game, that's a big deal. And, it should be something that happens, more frequently. I remember, Keith Williams, the wide receivers coach, Keith Williams, used to get out a little bit when Nebraska would be on road games, and they'd get guys out even that way. And that's kind of difficult. But I think when you can kind of put in some FaceTime, kids notice that they notice who's there. And that was good to kind of see Nebraska getting out when they could.
Bruntz, if you had to, and I guess you do have to because I'm going to ask you the question, if you had to put a grade on Nebraska in the non-con, or as Coach Rule calls it, the preseason, how would you grade out Nebraska's offense, defense, and special teams?
I would grade the defense an A-. They're kind of going up against a pretty high standard.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, is that grading on a curve? I don't know what that is, but offense, I would say a B. I think a B is fair. I kind of spent all off season talking about how they didn't have to go out and be a top 10 offense, but kind of be middle of the road. And I think they're middle of the road, and they're taking care of the ball and doing some things. So I'd say a B is fair. Special teams, I'd say probably a C at this point. I mean, I know that everybody focuses on the field goal kicking, and that's certainly a thing. But I mean, Nebraska's also done a pretty nice job in field position on special teams for the most part, and that was something that really from years past needed to get buttoned up. I mean, I think Garcia Castaneda has done a nice job of decision making on punt returns.
Yeah, quietly, yeah.
Yeah, and so I mean, I think last week was the closest they've been in terms of starting field position. I think it was even, and I would need to go back and look, but it's been a long time since Nebraska won that stat or at least was not getting their butts kicked in that stat three games in a row.
Bruntz, can I make the argument on special teams that the things, for the most part, that are actually coachable have been pretty good? And the thing that we're worried about is just, hey, can a specialist do his job?
It's a personnel thing. Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, when you have the questions about the snapping, you have the kicking inconsistency. I mean, at some point, like Ed Foley's not out there like getting really in the weeds on like foot placement with Tristan Alvano. That's just not the way that works. I mean, it's more mental, I think, with him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's the same way with the snapping stuff, where you're kind of just, okay, can we find the guy that's going to do the best and settle on that guy? That's basically the decision they were going back and forth on. So I'd follow you there. I think that's a fair statement. The one area that I would say maybe not
kickoff coverage
is kickoff coverage.
Yep.
But that's also a decision that Nebraska makes. They want teams to return kicks. You just got to be able to cover them.
I agree there. So do you understand that philosophically, Bruntz? Because I kind of like that if you can control your kicks well enough. Right, where you put them in a bind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but it does take pretty good.
You got to execute.
It's tactical versus technical, right? Like the premise is sound, but you do have to execute it.
Yeah, no, you gotta. If you're gonna do it, you gotta get enough hang time. And there's been a couple of those kicks that have been a little too line drive-ish, and kind of expose the kick return group or the kick coverage group. So yeah, I mean, I think. I understand I understand the idea of it. I just think the execution of the coverage and also the kick just needs to be a little bit better. I mean, they give it to you at the 25. I mean, you're basically forcing a college kid to make a decision, in a tough environment with guys bearing down on him. I understand that. It's you just kind of have to make that decision a little bit more difficult. You know what I mean?
All right, but I got to get you out of here on this, Bruntz. How desperately would you like the front office in Denver to be putting a trade together to bring in Bryce Young to compete with Bo Nix?
I thought you were gonna say put a trade together to get a new head coach. That's where I thought you were going with that.
Wow, it's becoming very interesting that Sean Payton may be just tied to Drew Brees, and we talk about Brady and Belichick. You better be talking about Sean Payton and Brees.
Yeah, it's been bad, and I don't know what the way out is. Like
Bryce Young.
I mean,
I'm kidding.
Maybe so.
Zach Wilson, baby.
Yeah. The answer is sitting down there as your emergency quarterback. That's what we need. Yeah, it's bad, guys. I'm already like looking at mock drafts. That's where we're at, and it's not even October yet.
You might need to be looking at coordinators to see who your next head coach is.
That's true.
You got to start doing your homework on those draft boards too, Brunson.
Bring McDaniel home. That's what I want. Bring him home.
Appreciate you spending time with such professionals, Bruntz. Thank you.
Always enjoy it, guys.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you later. That's Michael Bruntz, Husker 24/7. We'll be back. More Hurrdat Sports Radio. Welcome back to Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln. That's DBM, Ravi, Lulla. It's time for Bet on It, brought to you.
Tri-Cities. Don't forget about KFOR.
I already said
KFOR. No, I want you to say it live. Damn, I do listen. I heard what you said.
It's hard to tell sometimes. What's up?
No, you don't get off. No, you don't get off. No, you just don't. See, that's something that would happen in my house.
And say, no.
Just acting all ugly, saying whatever, and then 2 seconds later, it's like, what?
Hey, what's going on?
But, hey.
What's up, buddy?
No, like you didn't just say that. No, you
say, no.
Exactly. You clearly just told me you never know. I just wanted you to stress the KFOR part.
Which part? KFOR.
Or something like that.
KFOR.
Like a DJ.
KFOR. How you want me to do it? I don't know how DJs work.
That sounds top 40-ish.
Yo, DJ.
Like FM, not AM?
KFOR. That's so.
Oh, no.
That's the way Ravi sounded.
Oh, no. Shane, do that again.
One more time.
No.
KFOR.
Do that. Yeah, what the?
That's the way it sounded. I said that sounds too top 40. It's not top 40.
You won't get this, so I can say it. That sounded a little Hollywood to me.
It's got to be KFOR.
Hollywood always up to no good.
So there, Hollywood. Oh, okay. Nah. What the world, Shane?
KFOR.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That sounds too top 40. You got to throw a little
It
bit.
does not sound top 40.
You can't drag it out.
I was like, hey, this is the DJ.
That's not what I said.
KF. I'm not even doing it. I almost went into character. I'm not doing it.
KFOR.
Stop it.
Uruguay. It's time for Bet On It, brought to you by Warhorse Sportsbook. Warhorse Sportsbook, the best place in Nebraska to place your sports bets. Got the sports books in Omaha and in Lincoln. They've got you covered with nearly every major sporting event. Live bets, parlays, in-game.
I gotta stop.
Props and straight bets. They've got you covered. Go to warhorse.casino.com to see everything that they've got to offer, including some cool events they've got coming up as well.
Shane is a wild boy.
And if you're listening on KFOR, you'll probably go to Lincoln and the Lincoln Sportsbook to check it out.
That's like a 70s jingle right there. I mean, they probably have that
who
back in the
jingle?
day.
I don't
70s, 80s jingle.
I don't even. That's not what anybody did. And Shane just did his own thing over there, and he went all
It's a
Hollywood
radio
on
term.
us.
Jingle.
Jingle.
Got our own thing.
Got our own thing going.
Yep.
You know what I'm betting on? You know what I'm betting on today, DB?
What would that be, Robbie?
It's a football thing. I'm talking about football. I'm just talking about football. No, so our guy TK sent me a clip on the internets here of Mel Kiper.
You know there are a couple of Kucheras that tweet at us. Do you think they're related? I think is the other Tanner?
I have no idea. I maybe am just seeing the T Kuchera and assuming it's the same person. I'm not even realizing.
Well, you'd have to pronounce his last name correctly.
How do you say it?
Well, you said, what did you just say?
Kuchera.
Oh,
What did you say?
It was different than what I thought.
It wasn't like KFOR.
Did you knock it off? You're getting entirely too much joy from that.
Kuchera.
Okay, now you're just getting weird.
Selfish.
Wow. Wow. All right.
What? What'd I do?
What I'm going to need for you to do
Yeah.
is get some self-control.
That's almost certainly not going to happen.
I don't even reckon.
We're 37 years in. If therapy didn't fix it, it's probably not happening. It's probably that ship has sailed, I think.
Oh, shoot.
On my self-control.
You're going to football?
I think somebody's cooking onions in here.
Yeah, it does smell. It smells like cheeseburgers.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've got a football take. That's something I would bet on.
Okay.
So our guy TK, I don't want to say his last name because apparently it's he sent me a clip.
You're so sensitive.
He sent me a clip of. I'm not like Hollywood sensitive. He sent me a clip of Mel Kiper, who actually was being sensitive about.
He submitted it to you?
He did not.
The clip.
Oh yes, he did on the internets, on Twitter, not on Instagram. But we're just doing our whole other thing here. Mel Kiper was being a little sensitive. He was bemoaning that the two high safeties were ruining football.
Yeah.
And we had this conversation yesterday about the defensive schemes and how they're going so heavy in on stopping the passing game and all this. And what did we say? Like, hey, that's going to lead to a return to the running game, right?
Which it kind of has early on.
And that's what I'm betting on, is we will see a resurgence in the NFL, especially because there's already certain teams in college that still play this way, but we will see a resurgence in the NFL of power football, because that's what happens here. We got these ebbs and flows in schematics, right? Where you go from,
they're going all coach rule now, just boring.
Yeah, just boring.
Just win the game.
NFL style, just boring.
Huh.
Michigan style, if you will. Jim Harbaugh style, if you will.
Yeah.
Might be about the perfect time for him to have come back into the league.
Yeah, they are.
They're just beating your head in.
Grinding folks down.
And I know that they haven't played good opponents yet, but I think stylistically that's going to end up paying off for them.
What's wrong with the Raiders and the Panthers?
I mean,
nothing like a good litmus test, like two of the worst teams.
We don't have enough time.
Actually, the Raiders did beat the Ravens. So.
I don't know how bad the Raiders are. I don't think they're great, but I don't think they're anywhere near the same category as the Panthers. Nobody is. Like the Panthers are in their own. Like, you know how Mahomes is in his own category for quarterbacks? On the other end of the spectrum, the Panthers are in their own category for dog doo-doo.
Somebody gave me another good quarterback yesterday that can defy. Not poor
situational.
Defy
situation.
Yeah. Oh, Aaron Rodgers.
We don't know, though.
What do you mean?
We don't know that he can defy situation. We don't. What? What bad situation has he been in? What bad situation has Aaron Rodgers been in?
So are we just discounting, like, sitting behind Favre and then changing the throwing motion and all of that?
What do you mean discounting it? Like, he had time to fix things. He had time to sit and learn. Even if Favre wasn't super helpful, like, you don't think he's a better quarterback for having sat a couple years?
Okay, Ravi here for not vouching for Aaron Rodgers.
Listen, I think Aaron Rodgers is super talented, and based on talent alone, I could see the argument for Aaron Rodgers as being one of those guys, but we didn't see it.
Okay.
I don't think Rodgers has ever been in a bad situation.
Speaking of which, would you like to read that caption?
ESPN's Mel Kiper Jr. says two high safety should be outlawed. No, just learn how to run a football. That's it. That's all.
I can't even believe he's making this stance.
Yeah, that's really dumb. It's really, really dumb. It's really easy. You have two high safeties, right? And you've got a bunch of smaller defenders now than you used to. So beat them up.
Yeah.
Like, that's how football works.
That's why I like the play so much that Bullock made when he deflected that pass in the flats.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't seem like that big of a deal. But Nebraska showed too high.
Mm-hmm.
They got down into what we call three strong.
Yep.
The second safety came down, smoking down into
Yeah.
the box
Mhm.
to occupy inside runner like Giff, which freed Bullock up to be
To
a
go make
flat
that play.
defender because in cover 3, your secondary level guys go flats, hook to curl, flats.
Mhm.
And he got there, and the quarterback did not see that. I'm like,
That's a good play.
This is beautiful.
Yeah.
You can do that in the NFL.
Yeah.
And according to people that have watched Illinois quite a bit, that's the whole claim to fame for the 85 Illinois Bears defense.
Just because they're from the same state doesn't mean they're the same team.
Disguising pre-snap.
Yeah.
No, I say that tongue in cheek.
I
It
know.
actually is a thing.
Yeah, I
Like
know.
it's a good secondary for Illinois.
For sure.
It will be a tremendous test for Dylan.
And it'll be a tremendous test, I think, for the offensive play calling to see if they can force
And
Illinois to
see, like, for the Dennises of the world, to see if Nebraska's receivers can get open.
Yeah. We'll see. Hopefully.
So we can continue the further indictment on Coach McGuire.
Apparently.
I'm just saying.
Here's the other thing
I got one for you.
Oh, yeah. What do you got?
I'll give you a real game.
A real game?
Yeah, because everybody's down on them.
All right, let's hear it.
And they've got a huge one against the Guardians today.
I like real games.
I would bet on the Twins.
Ooh. You like the Minnesota Twins today?
I would bet on the Twins. I would take Woods Richards over Castillo, and I would take the Minnesota Twins to momentarily stave off the doom and gloom of Brian Christopherson and the like.
Minus 105.
So Team Christopherson over Team Schaefer today.
Taking sides over here.
I like both.
I'm always Team Bruntz. I like all three of them, but I'm a Bruntz guy. You know that.
Of course. I can tell by your level of professionalism.
I mean, I have known it for
Hey, you.
I have
You're
known
up.
it for like 25 years. That was you.
Oh, my bad.
We don't look that similar.
Yeah.
That's Bet On It, brought to you by Warhorse Sportsbook. Robert Rosenthal up next to talk about Illinois. Wrapping up the show here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We are joined now by Robert Rosenthal. He is from IlliniBoard.com. Robert, how are you this morning?
I am good, gentlemen. How are you?
Oh, that's a great voice. You should probably do my job, Robert. That's true. Let's get right to it. We've already had a couple of Illinois fans.
He knows Evan.
Oh yeah. So Robert, we talked to Evan, who is good friends with my co-host, and he kind of gave us the breakdown, and I was vibing with him. He brought up one thing that I think I hope our fan base is aware of, just as I'm getting ready for the broadcast tomorrow, doing film study. Those 8 takeaway, that +8 takeaway margin is pretty legit. And a lot of it starts with the ability of that secondary to kind of get after it a little bit. They got some playmakers on that back end, don't they?
Yeah, it's so interesting how it's been high and low kind of thing. You know, in 2022, 3 of those guys were, after that season, went in the first, second, and third round from the secondary. So obviously it was a good secondary. But, they had 24 interceptions that season. Those 3 guys graduate, and last year, with somewhat this same secondary, we're down to 7 interceptions on the entire season. So it's, it's feast or famine, and now, at least through 3 games, the feast is back. So it's interesting. Yeah, it was just they were too young last year, but same scheme, same coaches, just needed a little experience, and it seems like they're creeping back toward those 2022 numbers.
Robert, I know everybody's focusing on the defensive backfield, but I want to talk about the D line. Obviously, lost some guys there as well, most specifically Newton. But how has the D line looked to you this year so far for Illinois?
I would say surprisingly solid, but we don't know if we've played anyone yet. It's probably the best way to frame it. When we beat Kansas, they were number 19 in the polls. They're now 1-2. They just lost to UNLV, so there's this wait. Well, if Kansas is bad, then have we even proven anything yet? The early season, going back and forth with things like that. I think the biggest acquisition is going to get Dennis Briggs from Florida State and just plugging him in as a starter. A 5th-year guy, and he's been excellent of just putting him there. Beyond that, it's been done with transfers. There's this guy, T-Rod Edwards, who's the nose tackle. He's been the backup the last year. He started out at 2 years at Northwestern and then transferred in. So they've kind of patched it together with some transfers and such. So it's better than I expected when you lose all three interior guys, especially Johnny Newton, Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year. You're going to take a step back. But it's been better than I expected, but still to be determined when face some of these Big Ten offensive lines.
It's interesting, too, because I thought early on in the season last year when it was kind of doom and gloom for Illinois, everybody pointed to the fact that the D-line had underperformed. So it's like even though they had good individual talent, they were waiting for this D-line to be the D-line that people thought it was going to be in the preseason. Now it's actually they're playing pretty well, and it's still in the wait-and-see mode. What's the benchmark, do you think, to validate or to confirm or deny?
It's a really good question. There was also the scheme change last year. I mean, it wasn't much of a scheme. They kept Bielema will tell you, this is my defense. It wasn't Ryan Walters' defense. But when Ryan Walters got the Purdue job, and there's a new defensive coordinator last year, everything just looked off in September. I mean, when we played Nebraska, you guys saw that.
Yeah.
There was just some it's that early. It's what Kansas is going through right now. They lose their coordinator to Penn State, and this powerful Kansas offense is supposed to be this, and suddenly they're 1-2, all looking around like, wait, I thought this was supposed to be like a Heisman campaign for Daniels. What's going on here? So it was a lot of that last year. So to me, look, if they need a benchmark, the next 5 games are 4 ranked opponents at Nebraska, at Penn State, then home for Purdue, the only non-ranked opponent, and then home for Michigan at Oregon. So Illinois fans are going to learn absolutely everything needed to know in the next 5 weeks of whether this start that has moved into the top 25, whether it's legit or, I mean, honestly, 2 and 3 in these next 5 games would be incredible. It would mean another ranked win, 2 ranked wins on the season. You're probably not going to go to Oregon and win. You're probably not going to go to Penn State and win. But maybe you can sneak one against a Michigan team that's struggling when you're at home or whatever. It's that type of thing. And maybe there's one stolen tomorrow night. Who knows? Robert,
the first segment or two this morning, I was asking the question about, Coach Bielema's coaching prowess. Is it underappreciated, overvalued, whatever? And Ravi kind of did a deep dive, and because he said there's 2 things that people like to use against Bret Bielema: the fact that he kind of stumbled into Russell Wilson, and he was not great at Arkansas. He gave a 5-year stretch between Houston Nutt, Bielema, and Sam Pittman, and Bielema compared very well, favorable, as a matter of fact. How much of what he's going to be able to do before he's remembered in his tenure at Illinois has to do with the fact he seems to have to be okay with the play calling and an offensive coordinator kind of taking some shots that come across as Bielema-esque, but maybe not? Like, what's that dynamic like? As Illinois has gotten pretty vertical outside the numbers and allowed a quarterback to start 7-0 touchdowns to interception ratios.
Yeah, I feel like maybe the biggest misconception with Bielema, and it was my own misconception when he got the job, is, I'm expecting that, what he said when he got the Arkansas job of like, we're going to bring this powerful run game to the SEC and, all that kind of stuff. He's much more technical. I don't think he hates throwing the ball if he has a quarterback who can throw the ball. As I told you when I joined you guys the last time, like the biggest thing that I didn't understand is he's very technical about how the game goes and what's the risk of throwing a pass when you're at your own 15 on 3rd and 12. Is it maybe better to just punt there? Like try a draw play. If it doesn't work, get it out of your end because you're going to rely on your defense to prevent long drives. It's all that kind of stuff is what he talks about in press conferences. It's what, it's the way he coaches a game. That's been the biggest surprise to me, that it's less this Wisconsin like Bielema ball kind of thing, and it's more, like last week there was a play where Luke Altmaier, third down, had a running back in the flat, could have maybe picked up the first down, and he almost basically spiked it because he saw a defensive back lurking. And I asked that question in the press conference on Monday. I was like, is that the maturity of Luke Altmaier of like, look, we lead this game by 21. The only way we could lose at this point is if you throw a dumb pick. The defense is stopping them. Play risk-averse football because this game is over. That's the biggest thing that Bielema has shown of how he's kind of changed some things around Champaign. It's just the approach to the game. Look, we had Ron Zook for 7 years, and Ron Zook never one thought about, is this too risky, anything like that.
Well, he was too busy recruiting fellas to actually be tactically sound.
I mean, the athletes, let's go. I don't care. Throw it. Oh, no ball security. Don't care. We're going to get the ball back. We're going to score again. It was just a different approach to look. We went to the Rose Bowl. That's great. Okay, but Bielema couldn't be more the exact opposite of that. Of like, no, we were going to play the smartest football game we possibly can play.
We're talking with Robert Rosenthal from IlliniBoard.com. Robert, one of the other things that I think is really interesting is kind of that Illinois offensive line. Nebraska's defensive line has been one of the strengths of their team this year. How do you think Illinois holds up against that Nebraska D-line?
I mean, that's my biggest concern for this game. Talking to friends, as a fan of Illinois, talking to friends, it's like, I mean, it's both sides really. Is it on the interior, is this new defensive line going to hold up? And is this offensive line, especially the interior, tackles have been pretty good, but the three interior guys, can they stand up in a Big Ten game like this? That's as I discussed with a friend last night, like it could be one of those like 26 carries for 42 yards kind of games. And it's like, oh, well, now we know. Now we really know something about this team. They're gonna struggle in a Big Ten game to move the ball on the ground. They have to rely on the passing game. So that's what I'm fascinated to see is like first real test for if you want to open up this passing game, you got to be able to run the ball, and this is what Illinois saw against Kansas, I believe, and hasn't shown much. Kind of struggled a little bit to run the ball last week against Central Michigan. So this week it's going to be, a lot different.
Robert, we appreciate the time. As always, you're going to be in Lincoln tomorrow?
I will be. I'm headed there about 3 hours. I'm getting in the car and headed west.
All right. Well, I'll come over and say hi when you're here.
Safe travels, bud.
Sounds good.
All right, Robert.
All right,
we appreciate it. That's Robert Rosenthal from IlliniBoard.com.
It's a great big reunion party with all your Illinois buddies.
Well, Evan's not going to make it this week.
Awesome.
So
wait,
right.
what?
He's not going to make it. I know. It's all right. It's all right.
You went to see him. It's only fair.
I know. We'll get it. Well, he'll come out for another game.
I had to drop you off.
You did have to drop me off.
Jeez.
He's like, appreciate it, DB.
Took a detour.
You were kind of like my big brother. Just like Big Brothers, Big Sisters is an empowering mentoring program for young people. DB's kind of like my bigger brother sometimes, though not always so empowering. I might need to go to mentoromaha.org to sign up. Not sure if I'd be a big or a little, but we can figure it out. You can figure it out too at mentoromaha.org. Don't forget to come see us tomorrow morning here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill.